best. But it doesn't clean itself. That's not just the shirts, it's the shorts, the socks, the training gear, the boots, the other bits we sort out behind closed doors. Who's the one digging around in that smelly, stinky laundry basket at full time? Yeah, it's the kit man. They have a lot to work on in a week, from laundry, fixing damaged kit, repairing holes, cleaning boots. Then they pack the van and take everything they need off to the stadium, ready for game day. They don't get a lot of help when they get in the ground too. Kitmen are the ones unloading a full squad's worth of boots, kit, medical bags, and all the bits the players and coaches will need between the start of the day and switching off the floodlights at the end of the day. First thing they do is organise each player's kit, make it easily accessible in order to avoid any dramas on match day. Once everything's in the right place, it's into the dressing room, lay everything out, put players' nameplates on the right locker, all the things you don't even think about on a match day. Once the players arrive, if anything needs doing, they call the kit man. In the meantime, it's on the kit man to help set up for the warm-up. The coaches don't always have time to lay out all the cones and put the balls in those weird triangle piles you see. As the warm-up is underway, the kit man then becomes a glorified ball boy, chasing stray shots and passes, making sure they aren't lost in the crowds. They eventually do the tidying up too, getting everything off the pitch before kick-off and assist the ground staff with any last-minute things they may need. After that, it's last call for the players. Then, at kick-off, they can breathe a sigh of relief for a few minutes, sit back and watch the game, enjoy the fruits of their labour. At half-time, check everyone's okay and everything's as it should be, and then wait for full-time. Once the final whistle's gone, it's time to pack everything down, get the stuff that needs to be washed in the laundry, pack up the van, back to the training ground, and ready to do it again next week. Of course, each club differs, and different staff members will have different responsibilities, but we pay tribute to all of those who do it, whether it's the glitz and glamour of the Premier League or a cold Tuesday night in Stoke.
A very good afternoon and welcome to the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Thank you to Sam and Mickey for the last few hours. Brilliant stuff from them. But what a day to be coming in and doing Transfer Insiders. I'm Will Gavin. Alongside me, Luke Moore from the Football Ramble.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? What an exciting afternoon it's turning out to be already.
Honestly, so hyped for this one. We will kickstart the show. We're going to talk some Rodri. We're going to talk some Real Madrid, some Man City. We've got all these ongoing storylines to get into. But let's be honest, the big news coming out of Spain today, reports that Arsenal are exploring a deal for Vinicius Junior. This is huge. This could be the biggest transfer in Premier League history. So from 5 this afternoon, we're going to take your calls on those blockbuster rumours. Arsenal fans, you have got to be bouncing off the walls right now. 03717 223344. And something I've just become aware of in the last half an hour or so. Liverpool fans, a lot of cope going on social media because supposedly, according to Ben Jacobs, they've also been offered Vinny Jr. and turned it away. Not even bothered, not interested, doesn't play on the right, not for us. And so Liverpool fans, how are you feeling about the possibility that he could come to the Premier League and not to Liverpool? 03717 223344 is the number to call. We'll also ask whether Chelsea are title contenders. Palace, are they in a bit of trouble? Are Spurs putting too many eggs in the De Zerbi basket? All coming up on the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Luke Moore, welcome back into the talkSPORT studio. I understand it's been a while. I know you're getting really enjoying everyone saying that to you today so far.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me back. It was a pleasure to do my first show back with you, of course. I think it's been 5 years, as we were saying earlier. Great, very excited. New studio, lots of great football news to get stuck into, so I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely sensational. And listen, as I said, we will get into this Vinicius Junior news after 5 o'clock. We're going to take calls on this. 03717 223344 because as we debated and discussed a little bit in the office, this could be the biggest Premier League transfer in at least a decade, maybe in the conversation for all time.
Yeah, we're having a conversation, weren't we, about how often big players at the very, very top of the tree come to the Premier League, choose to come to the Premier League. And it doesn't happen that often, surprisingly. This could be right up there. It really could. And I think, I know we're going to discuss it in detail from 5 o'clock, but my early take is that Arsenal need to do everything they can to keep the foot on the throat of this Premier League. There's so many other teams in the Premier League at the moment that ordinarily you'd be expecting to be challenging at the very top in huge states of flux and transition. Arsenal are settled. They're the reigning champions. They need to go after any player, I think, that can improve them. And Vinicius Junior definitely fits into that mould for sure. Massively exciting news. And I think it's a good idea to do calls because I think Arsenal fans all over the country and beyond will be so excited at this news breaking.
And before, just to give some context, going back to the start of the window, going back to before the World Cup, I remember sitting here and having the same conversation but about Julian Alvarez, about how Arsenal should try and gazump Barcelona, should try and gazump supposedly Real, should go in there and say, listen, you guys are faffing around at 90 million, 100 million euros. We're going to come in, we're going to slap an extra 20 on top of that. We've got this huge amount of money that we've had come in this year. Biggest revenue in Premier League history last year. Just go in there and show your dominance, assert who you are as Premier League champions. The dream at that point that it could be Vinicius Junior who is coming in that position is astonishing.
I love that you say that. I love it. It's just chuck another 20 minutes. It's so easy to spend other people's money, isn't it, Will? We could sit here and spend other people's money all afternoon. Let's do that for the next 3 hours.
I'm going to make Luke come to the pub with me after the show as well. I'll be spending his money there as well. Don't you worry. 03717 22 3344 is the number to call. And as I say, from a Liverpool fan perspective, this initially report was coming out from David Ornstein, but I want to hear from Liverpool fans as well because our very own Ben Jacobs with a follow-up report that Liverpool were also apparently offered Vinicius Junior. This all comes off the back of Yan Diomande being bound for Real Madrid, it seems now. Seems like they've managed to get past PSG to sign the Ivory Coast winger. And so Vinicius Junior has become available. He's supposedly been offered to Liverpool and Arsenal. Arsenal are exploring the situation, as they well should. And Liverpool have apparently balked it and said, not for us. Too much money. Doesn't play the right position. And Liverpool fans are distraught on social media. So we'd love to hear from you as well. 03717 22 3344. But before we get to any of that, let's talk about Rodri. On this morning's Weekend Sports Breakfast, talkSPORT transfer guru Ben Jacobs said this Rodri saga is going to dominate this window.
Tchouaméni has agreed this new contract at Real Madrid, but bizarrely, they haven't yet announced it. Maybe that's a World Cup delay. So I think the Rodri saga is going to become the epicenter of this window and might allow other dominoes to fall. But it's fair to reflect that Real Madrid are confident, and of course, Man City would like Rodri to stay.
So Man City fans and Man City as a club, you've gone out, you spent £116 million at in theory, the position. He is a number 6, Elliot Anderson, but is he the kind of player that Rodri is? You've gone out and made a big splash this summer, and everyone has been saying it's a play alongside Rodri. That's what we want, the two of them together. Yeah. But with a year left on his deal, the World Cup European champion, Ballon d'Or winning, World Cup Golden Ball winning, English treble winner has essentially seemed to try and force his way out, looking for Real Madrid as his landing spot. Luke, if Rodri leaves Man City, where does this leave them as a team?
Well, they're incredibly weakened, of course. I mean, we can't have conversations about him being one of the very best midfield players and indeed one of the best players, full stop, in the world. Certainly the best player in his position in world football that I can think of, and not also agree that they're going to be weakened if he leaves. Real Madrid is obviously an incredible pull for anyone, but it's particularly an incredible pull for a Spanish player. And the rumours are that he wants to leave, he wants to move on. And we have to understand as well that Man City are arguably going to be in a bit of state of flux as well, because the greatest manager in their history has moved on. There's a lot of upheaval. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty around how good a job Enzo Maresca does. I expect him to do a fairly good job, actually, but I don't think it's very, very big shoes to fill, to say the least. Rodri's a fantastic player. There's no one like him. He's won it all. He's done it all. Anderson coming in would be amazingly complimentary alongside him. I think you're right to say that. And Anderson is, for me, one of the outstanding midfield players in the world as well. I mean, you look at his numbers, look at how he's performed in the Premier League since he's been there. I don't think you can argue he's not very, very top level, but he's not Rodri.
Just on that, Luke, I came into this video and I said, listen, £116 million might seem like a lot of money, but right now, when I watch the last year in the Premier League, if you give me the opportunity of signing Elliot Anderson at 23 years old, or Declan Rice for the same money at 27 years old, I'm signing Elliot Anderson all day long.
I can understand that. I think they're both fantastic players, but the numbers around Elliot Anderson, I'm not talking about the fee, I'm talking about the raw numbers of how he plays. You know, most touches of the ball among top flight players. One's the most duels, one the most fouls. I've got it here. One possession the most times overall. Completed the most overall passes, made the most line-breaking passes and made the most dribbles. He can do everything. He can do everything. And the age profile he is as well is a very, very exciting player. And I think for him to go on the next level, providing he plays, we've seen players who've come in that position at Man City before and perhaps found it difficult to break into the side and not had the impact they'd hope. So providing he steps in there and he can play, and of course if Rodri does move on, it means he's far more likely to play a lot more, even though, as you said, they're different players. What I also love about Anderson is the psychological makeup of him. Always wants the ball, never hides. You saw that over and over again in the World Cup for England. Even if he wasn't playing particularly well, or it was a really sticky game, or it's tough for him to get into the game, always looking for the ball, always looking to go and get it, always looking to make things happen. I think transfer fees are almost a bit of a misnomer these days because they're based on so many different factors. How much the team wants him, how much the other team doesn't want him anymore, what his contract size is, what his contract length is, what position he plays. So we do get kind of het up about transfer fees quite a lot. I don't think it's that important. It's not our money, is it? And whether Man City can afford it or not is probably a different discussion because there's a lot of things hanging over them. That was something that was hanging over them last time I was at talkSPORT. That tells you how long it's been going on. But aside from that, I think Anderson is a magnificent player, and I can see why every team wanted him. And I think for the fee, I mean, the fee is the fee, but I think he's worth it.
I'm inclined to agree. My concern is, and there have been very few players who I think was as consistent as Elliot Anderson was at the World Cup, and yet have somehow managed to be quite so polarising. And people,
but who's polarised by him? You honestly think that some people out there don't think he's that good?
There are a lot of people out there who think it's a farcical amount of money that he doesn't even begin to compare, that want to say he could never lace up Rodri's boots. And again, I'm going to hark on about this. They are not the same footballer. Technically, they're both players of six, but Rodri is the most all-round midfielder I think I've seen play at that position in Premier League history. Like, I look at, if you want to talk about greatest midfielders, it's way too diverse of a group, and you can throw out Gerrard and Lampard and Patrick Vieira and all these wonderful midfielders who have played in this league. But for a guy who is as physically imposing as Rodri is, 6'3", can just rule a game in that way that Patrick Vieira did, who can absolutely control the ball in that holding midfield, whether you want to talk about Michael Carrick or the greats in Europe like Pirlo and players like that. Like, as a true do-it-all player, to make that direct comparison, it's like being the first guy to play left wing after Messi has left Barcelona. You're talking about one of the best midfielders. I think the best midfielder in European football since Xavi, Iniesta, since that era. That's where Rodri is for me. Sure. So to go turn around and say, well, he's probably the best midfielder of the last decade. So Elliot Anderson, 23 years old, just signing for a Champions League club for the first time. Go on then, mate. Prove us you can do the same. That's not how you replace.
They're also on different parts of their journey, right? As players, as you mentioned, he's 4 years younger, Anderson. If the argument is that, we don't think that Anderson is worth that money because he's not Rodri, then it's a stupid argument in my view. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying people who are saying that, it's kind of irrelevant, really. I mean, Manchester City always want to strengthen. All the top clubs always want to strengthen. Anderson was one of the standout players in the Premier League last season, and he is a standout world-level midfielder, in my view, with a lot of years, if he stays fit and he can continue to develop, a lot of years left at the top level. I just don't see, and the transfer fee, people, it's hard to interpret a transfer fee because it's like I said, there's so many different factors. When players go for free, it doesn't make him any better or worse than players who go for 50 million. It's just a contract situation, right? It's different circumstances.
And on that very point, that's a point we'll get to with the Vinicius Junior situation, because there is so much talk about what the fee's going to be, what the contract's going to be. Are the wages something that are going to just completely restrict Arsenal from doing it?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
You have to take the whole thing holistically. You have to look at it from the top down. And 116 million is what it's cost you to quote unquote replace Rodri. I just don't think you're replacing Rodri. That's not the point. If Rodri leaves, you have to replace him.
If Rodri stays,
you have to find a way to make it work.
Definitely.
You're not going type for type with Elliot Anderson. So I think it's been incredibly unfair on him that he's getting that around his neck before he even goes in there. But being the kind of man he is, being the kind of player he is, maybe he's the sort of player who actually steps up to that opportunity.
I think he might be. But let me ask you something real quick. If there was no question marks whatsoever over Rodri's future at Man City, i.e. he was definitely going to stay, would they still go after Elliot Anderson?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Surely.
There we go then.
03717 22 3344 is the number to call. We'd love to hear from City fans on this. Forest fans as well. How big of a loss for you City fans would Rodri be? Do you believe that Elliot Anderson is a like-for-like? Do you need to sign another midfielder if Rodri goes as well? This is the Transfer Insiders. Don't forget, later tonight, we've got live boxing from Jeddah. Anthony Joshua taking on Christian Prenga live on talkSPORT at 10 p.m. Come here for the main event immediately following our coverage of the Commonwealth Games from 7. Up next, we'll talk to one of those very City fans in Steve McInerney, and we'll take your calls here on the Transfer Insiders.
I think United want to move on. He's obviously on a hefty wage. I'm amazed Saudi haven't come in. I'm amazed he hasn't gone out to Saudi.
I think he won it.
Again, Saudi pay a lot more than 300 grand a week for a player obviously who's playing for England and still in his prime. Yeah. I'm very surprised Barcelona didn't do the deal. But then again, I expected him to do well at Barcelona. Most, average wingers would do well out there, the team they have. I don't know where he goes. If you were a Spurs, would you go for him?
That's the one that keeps nagging away in the back of my mind.
We'll take him for a loan.
Yeah.
And if he plays 23 games, you know what I mean, we'll obviously pay this fee and that fee. What United are going to have to probably end up doing is recuperating as much of that fee back and all the loan fees they've had the last 2 seasons and the next 2 seasons. So I'm thinking Spurs. They've got a few more experienced Premier League players they've signed.
And De Zerbi's the type of manager that feels he can.
I'm not sure
he feels he can fix players.
I'm not sure he'd put up with.
Really?
And then you'd worry about the London life, wouldn't you? So
yes, you would.
There's all those things. Rashford is incredibly talented. And you look at him and go, what are you doing with your career? You should be dominating. You should be dominating world
Even
football.
that World Cup, he comes on, doesn't he, the first game, scores a brilliant goal against Croatia, arguably England's best performance in that second
I agree.
half. He played a part of that. Starts the next game,
fur
sinks the
coat, no
place
knickers.
out,
Fur coat, no knickers.
and then never really gets his place back. Anthony Gordon becomes de facto left winger, not just for England, but Barcelona as well.
And the place was there because Gordon wasn't good in game one. And it was there to be won. And you just look at Rashford and you go, you've got all the tangibles to be world class. What is the matter with you? But again, I would say he's been on nearly £500,000 a week for the last, since he's 23? Is it again too much too soon?
Welcome back to the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm Will Gavin. The great Luke Moore is alongside me from the Football Ramble as we are going through all the biggest transfer news ahead of the new season getting underway. The first 2 games of the season, of course, live and exclusive on talkSPORT for you, the new Premier League season. And we're talking about all of the big deals. After 5 o'clock, we're going to take your calls on Vinicius Jr. Arsenal in for the Real Madrid winger. Could this be one of the biggest transfers or the biggest transfer in Premier League history? Let's not hold back. It's got to be in that conversation when you talk about the prestige, the player, where he's being signed from, the profile, everything that goes along with it. This could be absolutely massive and a statement of intent for Arsenal. So we'd love to hear from you on that. We'll also talk about Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal. We'll talk about Yan Diomande to Real Madrid. We've got loads on the docket that's just come out today alone. Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Spurs, all coming up in the show as well. But right now, we're talking some Rodri. 03717 223344. Get in touch with us on text 81089. On Drive earlier this week, Andy Goldstein and the former Watford captain Troy Deeney discussed whether Rodri is in the conversation for the greatest Premier League midfielder of all time.
I feel like it's a little bit too soon as well.
Okay.
I feel like we're always trying to rush people into the great. Is he one of the greatest already?
Yeah.
I think the reason we think these guys that you've just alluded to are great is because of the longevity, their ability to be great for such a long period of time.
I mean, Rodri is 30 years old. He's been there for 7 years. He's won the Ballon d'Or. He's won the Golden Boot. He's won the Euros, the World Cup, the treble with Man City. Like, there isn't anything that he has won. As much as I like Troy Deeney, I don't think longevity is the question mark over Rodri at this point.
Yeah, I think it's certainly. I find these greatest of this, greatest of that conversations interesting. It's really difficult to get a proper answer, isn't it? No one can be definitive about it. And I remember the great Tiger Woods saying when he was asked if he was the greatest golfer of all time.
Rather than the rubbish Tiger Woods.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's not worth talking about here. No, Tiger Woods said, all you can ask is to be a part of the conversation, right? Because it's impossible to be definitive about it. I think Rodri is part of the conversation. And I think you alluded to it before the break where you said these are different profiles of midfielders. It's very difficult for us as, really big football fans and people who've covered football for a long time to compare Steven Gerrard with Rodri, right? They just interpret the game totally differently. They play in the same area of the pitch for the most part, or they did in Gerrard's case, but they're not the same player. And I think if you look at the profile of things that Rodri's won, you look at how he's able to dictate games, control games, how much worse his teams are when he's not in them as well, by the way, which is a massive factor. Rodri does tick all those boxes. And I think when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's, you've got to pick your poison. Everyone's got their favourites. I mean, but he is part of the conversation. Surely you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm right up there.
Surely Troy would agree with that as well, presumably. You have to.
I am as big a Rodri fan as is probably out of Manchester, but I just, like you say, there is too many of profiles, too many great midfielders to suddenly put him up and prop him up as the greatest. And I always think you have to take the context of who they played with and who else has been, Rodri was able to do what he could do because the players in front of him were so sensational, and that always has to come up in that conversation as well. But he has run that midfield for 5-6 years now, and it's a midfield that won literally everything during that time for both club and country.
Let me tell you something else as well, real quick. It also depends on the age of the people talking about it, in my view.
Yeah, 100%.
You sit around with your dad, your granddad, whatever, talking about the great players. Like my uncle, who first got me into football, would always tell me you'd have no discussion against the fact that George Best was the greatest player to ever play the game. Now, for me, as a young guy who was never old enough to see George Best, I was desperate for a new superstar to come on that we could see in our generation and go, they're the best player of all time. And I think if you're a bit younger than we are, then perhaps you do think you are skewed towards Rodri because perhaps you don't remember Frank Lampard playing that much, or you don't remember Steven Gerrard. So a lot of it is about the generation of the people talking about it as well, I think.
Do you want to feel really old?
Not really, but I regularly do.
Just because of based on this conversation we're having, just something that blew up on social media yesterday, which just broke my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal's dad was born in 1992.
Yeah. It's depressing.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Right. So when you're talking generationally, this is a very different generation. If there's any Gen Zs out there who want to come on and tell us that Rodri is the greatest midfielder
I was at
of
school
all time,
when his dad was
we'll
born.
take it. Yeah, there you go.
Senior school.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right, let's get to our first guest of the show, because to come on and talk Man City, what a loss Rodri could be for them, what he makes of the Elliot Anderson signing, and much more beyond, is the great Steve McInerney from the esteemed company podcast. Steve, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
The great Stephen McInerney. I'll have that, mate. I'm very good. How are you?
It might be
okay?
the kindest I've ever been to you. This is what happens when I'm on the big station instead of talkSPORT 2, is I lavish people with praise to build them up. But it's all right. We'll tear you down by the end of the segment, don't we?
I'll take that too. Let's go for it. See what you can do.
Rodri, like last year of his deal, looks like he is pushing, or there is a push for him to make a move to Madrid. Considering all of the factors involved, how big of a loss is this for Man City if he goes?
Absolutely huge. He's the second greatest midfielder in Premier League history after Kevin De Bruyne, of course. So, yeah, it'd be huge, mate. It'd be ridiculous. For me, he is the transition between Pep and Maresca. He's so good that I think he single-handedly smooths that process. That's how good he is. I mean, you were talking before about how good he is, and people forget that he once went 74 games unbeaten for Manchester City Football Club. In 23-24, we lost 3 games that season, all without Rodri. He's that good, and the fact that he wins, he scores the winning goal in the Champions League, player of the tournament when he did, player of the tournament, UEFA Nations League, the Euros, the World Cup for Spain and so on. Cucurella saying afterwards that he controls when they press, when they attack, all these things when they defend. He is the coach and the best player on the pitch at the same time. And I truly believe if he'd played the entire season last season at the level he was, in the World Cup, we probably would have beaten Arsenal to the league. We're so close in the end anyway. So it'd be massive. I wouldn't take any amount of money for him to Real Madrid for the year, because I really, truly believe he makes this life of the Guardiola, even if it's just for a year, so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, spot on. That's a really good point about the kind of coach on the pitch type thing as well. Have Man City fans started to kind of make their? I know you obviously you're a great fan of his, and you're all tremendously fond of him. But have Man City fans started to make their peace with the idea that he is going to move on? Is that something you guys can contemplate yet?
Well, it depends who you ask. We all have our own different opinions. For me, I felt the writing was on the wall. There was a few months ago in the international break before the World Cup where he was asked about his future, and he did the whole, Madrid's a great club, and he talked a little bit about his body adapting to the pace of the Premier League these days. And a year left, and I think it's very obvious that it was obvious, in my opinion, that he wasn't planning to sign a contract because they were offering him a small fortune anyway. It wasn't about the money. It was obvious that he wanted to go home. He's a Madrid boy. He's born in Madrid. So I personally made my peace of it. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but I accepted it a long time ago. I suspect for some people, they won't be happy with it at all, and that's their prerogative. I've watched Kevin De Bruyne go. I've watched Sergio Aguero, David Silva, Fernandinho, Yaya Toure, even cult heroes like Zabaleta and Joe Hart and all these players. Every year it feels like a legend leaves. So a bit Bernardo Silva, Pep Guardiola. At this point, I'm used to it, unfortunately. I mean, it's the other side of having these great players that you love that at some point they have to go. But for me, we've had Rodri's best years. He might go on and do great things, but his true peak in England, I think we've seen that. I still want him to stay for many more years, absolutely. I personally, I wouldn't say I'm fine with it, but I've accepted it, if that makes sense, if he goes. I just want him to be here for another year. If it's this summer, I don't know. I would struggle a little bit with that, mainly because I think it's very bad news for us. Not that I don't respect his right to go. I think it'd be a year too early for City to be ready for it.
Because he's only got a year left on the contract, and with the injury concerns, etc. as well. We've got no confirmation of fee, but our very own Ben Jacobs, who's very, very good with this stuff, says that City, the starting line is 70 million. There's no lower will be accepted than that. Would you rather he stayed for a year and went for a free next summer, or you got 70 million and you tried to replace him in the aggregate now?
70 million is nothing these days. Like, that barely gets you, a mid-table Premier League midfielder.
I would Anderson, that gets you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, look, when you get like Harry Kane going for borderline 100 million to Bayern a few years ago, they signed Eden Hazard with a year on his contract like 7 years ago for like 115, 20 million quid, Real Madrid. So for me, it's a symbolic thing. I don't think any number on a spreadsheet is worth what Rodri can bring to Manchester City Football Club over this year anyway. Some people are just born winners, and their mentality and what they can do to the team and the next generation, if Anderson will need him, if we sign Ayoub Bouadi, the young Moroccan wonder kid, if he comes in, what he could learn from him for a year, what Maresca can do as he leads them. 70 million quid like that's nothing these days for Premier League sides, of the top. Everyone, they're all doing it. They're all throwing £100 million transfers around these days. So 70 million quid for a guy that I truly believe I think City, if Rodri stays, I would have fancied just to win the league. And I'm not just saying as a City fan, I think he's just that good. I think he makes any top four side potentially favourites because of his ability. I truly think he's on a level above any midfield in the league. So bearing that in mind, I would rather have him, the success and the transition. So I'd be asking for 100 million because that is the market. Like 70 million quid till he's a Ballon d'Or winner, the best midfielder in the world. I know it's just a year, but people stopped caring about a year in a contract ages ago when they spent 100 million pounds on Eden Hazard and Harry Kane.
He might genuinely win it again this year as well. That's the thing. Now that he's gone and won the Golden Ball and he's gone and won the World Cup, there is a world where he ends up claiming that a second Ballon d'Or, which would be astonishing, let's be honest. If he goes, do you need to do more business? Is Elliot Anderson, quote unquote, enough?
No, he was never the Rodri replacement. He's a Bernardo Silva replacement. Like Bernardo Silva alongside Rodri played as a sort of 8, shuttling about, covering everything. That's Anderson. That's Anderson in a nutshell. So that will be his game. And he's never been a 6, as far as I can tell, Anderson. I think he was a number 10, actually, as a kid at Newcastle. And got a little bit deeper with time. But that's not his game. He could do a fine job there, sure. But I would, if I can play Football Manager and pretend to be, to have the keys. I'd love the keys. I'd be a bit richer than I am right now. But if I could, I'd be getting City to go and hijack Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle, because that would be perfect. I think he's, if not Rodri's number 1 smartest midfielder in the league, I think Bruno is number 2. I think he's a fantastic player. A signing City should have done years ago. We wouldn't be having these conversations about signing more midfielders. We wouldn't have gone for Phillips and Nunes, we should have got him years ago. So I would go for that. I think Bouadi is probably going to come in regardless, because we've got Kovacic will be moving on, if not this summer. Maresca hinted that he might be. Bernardo Silva's gone. If Rodri goes, there's 3 senior established Champions League winning midfielders gone, And when we're hemorrhaging experience and talent left, right and centre since the treble season, look, someone like Bruno coming alongside Anderson, then you teach the ropes to Buadu, who plays 30 games a season as well, given the amount of football we play. I think City have to go big if lose Rodgers, just simply because it's too much experience lost.
Wonderful stuff from you, Steve.
Cheers,
And there you
Stephen.
go. It did end up being brilliant. We all can agree on that, at least. The great Steve McInerney joining us, the host of the Esteemed Company podcast here on the Transfer Insiders. What do you make of it all then? Actually, the Bruno Guimaraes shout is a really interesting one, and one that obviously, as we talk Arsenal, as the show goes on, after 5 o'clock, 03717 22 3344. Arsenal fans, get your calls in now. How excited are you about the prospect of Vinicius Jr. lining up at the Emirates next season? We'll talk some Chelsea coming up as well here on the Transfer Insiders.
Let's just say something about Tottenham here. It's a big conversation because obviously it's about trophy wins, European Cups, all of those sort of things come into it. But in the modern world, it also comes down to support base. Money is so much involved. And Spurs are a big club, full stop. Of course, we're above someone like West Ham. We have got more support.
He had you above West Ham.
Globally. Well, I know, but he was almost fighting with that. You could also look at a support point of view globally. We would make Chelsea look tiny. They have had more recent success. Facts, they've had more success. But we also got to think about Tottenham history. First team to do a domestic double. First team to win the European Cup. We have history that can't be ignored in the same way that like Aston Villa.
Without being pedantic, people will be shouting at the radio, European Cup, not the European Cup.
A European Cup, yes, apologies.
That's all right.
And so I think that history is important. It really, really is. And I don't want to sound like I'm banging on about the past. We know what we've been. I'm a realistic Tottenham fan. I've seen it. Arsenal are a big club. Hate saying it, they're a big club. Bigger than us. I've got to say that as well, and that's going to upset people.
Rich, you do me a favour then. You rate them 1 to 4 first.
It'll have to be Arsenal.
Okay.
Gives me the up, but there you go.
Then who?
And it's controversial. I'm going to put us above Chelsea and then West Ham at the bottom.
You think Spurs are bigger than Chelsea?
As a club, as a supporting club, and all internationally supported, and all their clubs, 100%, yes. And history, yes.
Welcome back inside the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm your host, Will Gavin. Alongside me, the great Luke Moore from Football Ramble. I have to think of some more superlatives for you as the show goes on.
I don't feel like you need to go over the top just for superlatives, Will. That's fine.
You can't just keep calling you great.
You just
alone.
just say him next door.
A reminder, after 5 o'clock, we're going to be talking about Vinicius Jr. to Arsenal. This looks like a legitimate possibility, and it's one of a number of transfers that we are getting some big news on today. Yan Diomande to Real Madrid, we think, for in the region of 120, 130 million euros, which opens up this Vinicius Jr. move. What's the latest on Bruno Guimaraes going to Arsenal as well? We expect potentially a bid to be tabled today. Newcastle still batting it away, continuing to deny there's even any engagement with it. But could they lose yet another one of their crown jewels? Very distinct possibility. And also, don't forget, later tonight, live over on talkSPORT 2, it's the World Match Play Darts semi-finals. Coverage begins from 7:30 p.m. You've got Gerwin Price against Gavin Van Geen, and Luke Littler looking to go back-to-back for the first time in 11 years against Dirk Dijvenbode. It's Darts on the radio. If you've never listened to it before, It's absolutely sensational. So well,
It's gripping is what it is. It's absolutely gripping.
It's honestly, and the lads, Danson, Mark Wilson, Laura Turner, Chris Mason, they do a sensational job. So all of that coming up later today. And we want your calls on Arsenal 03717 22 3344. Want to hear from Arsenal fans. Want to hear from Liverpool fans how you're feeling about it. Vinicius Junior to Arsenal would be the signing of the century, coming in from 354 on the text. And listen, a great text coming in from Kenny in Billinge, who says, don't forget Rodri wasn't fit to lace Fernandinho's boots in his first season at Man City, was the claim from other fans. Struggled to get in the side early on. Anderson will develop to be the player who runs the midfield in the future. He's young. He has time on his side. I love that positivity from a Man City perspective.
Yeah, so it's really easy to be positive when you're a Man City fan, though, isn't it? Players leave, I get that, and my heart did bleed for Steve early. So I'm just so used to all these players leaving. Always look at that through the lens of being a Portsmouth fan. So
it's so harsh to have all these people who could, in theory, have statues at any club they've played for in the last 20 years.
But look, I think it's fairly straightforward to remain positive as a Man City fan generally, although I do understand there'll be some uncertainty now and there's no Guardiola there. So that will be an interesting thing.
Let's talk a bit of Chelsea, because this morning the club confirmed the sign of Maxime Lacroix from Crystal Palace, £52 million. It follows that £117 million signing, of course, of Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. And, I mean, an even bigger loss for Aston Villa, potentially. Maybe I'm overselling that. Aston Villa set-piece coach Austin McPhee has to leave his role.
I think you are overselling that, yeah. I like where you're going with it, though.
Listen, McPhee was a huge part of what has made Villa very, very special.
Of course.
Under Emery. And he has had his release clause triggered and will be going to West London.
Listen, if you want to know how far football has come, for better or worse, you decide. We are now talking about release clauses being triggered for set-piece coaches. When you and I were coming up, and I know I'm probably a bit older than you, when you and I were coming up, you could not name a set-piece coach because there wouldn't be a set-piece coach. He's probably the most high-profile set-piece coach around, though, isn't he?
I would say,
he looks the part as well.
I think he's number 2 on that list, because let's not forget that Nicolas Javier has a mural.
Oh, true.
For him
Yeah.
Arsenal.
I forgot about that. Yeah, fair enough.
He essentially won them the Premier League last season. If many,
but I think McPhee is probably like one for the heads, though. If you love your set pieces and you love looking at talent spotted on the touchline in the coaching staff, McPhee is a very distinctive looking guy. I just love the idea, though, that when he's been negotiating to go to Aston Villa, his agent, has he got an agent? I presume he has. Everyone has these days. He's negotiating release clauses in there in case another club want him for his set pieces. It's incredible how far the game's come.
Over 3 seasons, they converted 74 goals.
He's been big for them. He has been big for them. He has.
It's massive. Listen, all these moves, shoring up the back line, and what we expect to be under Xabi Alonso, that he's going to play this kind of 3-4-3 system with the 2-10 sitting behind the striker. If he plays that same system he played at Leverkusen and tried to install at Real Madrid before realising that you've got to have players willing to chase back to make that system work. Bringing in a centre-back is massive for them. Lacroix, while he had a tough time in the third-place playoff, as we've discussed, that game is essentially a glorified charity match.
Very difficult to make of that whole thing, to be fair.
He's been fantastic for Crystal Palace. They bring in Morgan Rogers, who in theory, behind João Pedro, with Cole Palmer, that is the perfect pairing of 10s behind them. And they've got no European football this season either.
No.
How high should Chelsea fans be on the idea that they're not just going to push for a Champions League place, they're not just going to push to finish higher than 10th, that actually this could be a team that genuinely competes for the Premier League this season?
To me, that feels a little bit ambitious, challenging for the league. Just because I think there's always so much uncertainty at Chelsea, so much kind of ins and outs. But then, having said that, if you take Arsenal out of the equation, which of course you can't because it's Arsenal and they're the champions, there are lots of teams going into the Premier League this season, lots of big teams with a lot of question marks over the top of what's happening. As I said earlier, part of the reason I think that Arsenal should just go after any big player that improves them in any way. I'm not just talking about Vinny Jr. I'm talking about a centre back given Saliba's absence, whatever they want to do. Guimaraes would be another good one because they can keep their foot on the throat here. There's question marks over Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, arguably Manchester United as well, because they've got an inexperienced manager who expectations were so low for him when he came in, and he just kind of did a quiet job and got on with it.
And the antithesis of Xabi Alonso, he now has European football to contend with. He's going to be more challenging on 4 sides. It's going to be.
And Will, listen, let me tell you something now. With Manchester United, the moment there's any kind of controversy, it is blown out of all proportion, bigger than probably any other club outside of Real Madrid, probably in the world. So he's got to be able to navigate that as well. So to bringing that all the way back round to Chelsea, is there an opportunity for Chelsea to get right back up there? And bearing in mind they finished 10th last season, right? So they're starting from a pretty low base as far as Alonso is concerned. I think the answer is yes, just because it will be which team and which new manager can manage that situation the best. And if Alonso's given the room, Chelsea had, if you include McFarlane, had 3 managers last season. It's not a recipe for success, is it? And there's been a lot of upheaval. If they give Alonso the room and he can hit the ground running and start strong and blend these players in, they've got a chance of doing something, I think, for sure. I like Lacroix. I think he's a good player. I like that you went for Lacroix, which is a really American sport.
I really wanted to.
But the thing about Lacroix is he obviously had some experience in the World Cup in the summer. He's obviously fancied behind Upamecano and Saliba at France, but he played a lot last season for Palace. He's a very experienced Premier League player. I think he probably can go in there and do something. And I think Morgan Rogers is a fantastic player, obviously. So they are starting to do something that's quite interesting. And I think Alonso is something who's been on the radar as a manager for the Premier League for quite a long time. We've all been thinking about him waiting in the wings. When he left Leverkusen, goes to Real Madrid, you can understand that. No one has their stock improved or declined by being at Real Madrid because it's Real Madrid. No one really judges managers for how they do there, right? Because it's such a basket case of a club. So he comes in with high hopes. It'll be really interesting to see how he gets on.
From my perspective, I came into the summer looking at the Xabi Alonso potential move. I didn't think he would go to Chelsea. I really didn't.
I was surprised by that as well, I have to say, yeah.
And it's becoming more and more clear that with Igbali taking control behind the scenes from their 15 sporting directors they seem to have there, it was very much felt like that period at Everton where there were 3 different men signing players, and they all signed a number 10 in the space of a week. And you're like, who actually is in charge here?
You get a number 10. You get a number 10.
And it really felt exactly like who is in charge here. It feels like Xabi Alonso has been maybe not given the kind of reins to the level of it's all yours no matter what, the Luis Enrique PSG situation. He's maybe not that level, but it does feel like he's been given a real say over the transfers, over how the club is going to approach this off-season. And listen, if I have to take Arsenal or the field, when I consider Antonio Areola and all the injuries Liverpool had last season, they still have a very, very good squad there. And yes, I'd like to see them sign a winger. I'd like to see them sign Vinicius Jr. in theory. Liverpool fans, 03717 223344. Why aren't you involved in that situation? If Arsenal don't get one of, if not both, of Vinicius Jr., Bruno Guimaraes over the line, or Bruno Guimaraes and just another attacking player, Vinny might be, we could be beyond the scope with the wages and everything. If they don't get those 2 over the line, and you consider Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, both coming back off this tournament, you consider the William Saliba injury so huge to them. I know Arsenal is going to be our topic in the next hour more so, but I just feel like there is a potential opportunity. There's a window, those first few months where Arsenal are not going to be at their fullest strength, and Chelsea just feel like the team who could grab that ball by the horns. And if I had to take Arsenal the field, I think I might take the field right now.
Yeah, you've got to factor in as well that, I remember Alex Ferguson saying, it's really, really difficult to lift your team again to go back to back.
Look at what happened to Liverpool last season off the back of their Premier League win.
Really famously hard. So that might be a factor as well. To me, with Chelsea, from the outside looking in, I've got no vested interest either way with Chelsea. Don't really care, to be frank. But it's how they react if something doesn't go well. To me, I'm always thinking they're quite trigger happy, right? So if you're talking about the first few months of the season, Will, if they go for the first few months of the season and Alonso's trying to get them to take on board quite a lot of new ideas, it's been a bit of a nightmare the last season with the different managers they've changed between, this whole thing with Rosina. And so he's saying, look, this is what we're going to want to do. I'll tell you a good example of it would be the Iraola thing at Bournemouth. He comes in after Gary O'Neill. They play like a drain for like 8 games and everyone's thinking, who's this guy? And then it clicks. If Alonso's going to do something like that, are Chelsea going to blink? They're not going to fire Xabi Alonso early, but it may well be that things start to go all right. And if they do, the opportunity could be missed. But there's such an opportunity. It's such an open Premier League this season. It's really open. And it'll be whichever new manager comes in, whether it's Maresca, Iraola, Alonso, whoever, can really maximise the opportunity and capitalise on it.
Arsenal are rightly the favourites. I absolutely buy into that, and I believe that. I'm just saying there is an opportunity there. Vinny Jr. would be Nicola Pepe 2.0, says Alex. The most overrated player in world football currently ends the season with under 10 goal involvements. And let's not get too carried And Craig in Clitheroe says, let's not get too carried away with Vinny the Chinny going to Arsenal. He's only looking at them because Liverpool have said no. They are second choice at best, says Craig. That feels like some big-time cope from Liverpool fans. We'll get into it in the next hour. 03717 22 3344. This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
The Crystal Palace football team!
Sensational music choice from the Buttons, Alex Irons, and the team on the other side of the glass. This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm Will Gavin. We're with you until 7 this evening when it'll be Commonwealth Games action from 7 to 10. Greg Rutherford and the great Natalie Sawyer in the studio for that one. We'll get an update from today's action in the Commonwealth Games shortly. I've got Luke Moore alongside me. After 5, we are going to be taking your calls on the idea that Vinicius Jr. could come to the Premier League. Is that going to be the most significant, the biggest Premier League signing, at least of the last decade, maybe even all time? 03717 223344. But we talked a little bit of Palace during the last section when we were talking about Chelsea, and it's time to get the latest on Palace, who apparently right now are losing in their customary pre-season game against Bromley. So I don't know how much we're going to draw into that for what it is for the season for them, but it's been a tough start to the year for them.
And fans of Wicked Whispers will note that Adam Wharton not involved either. So fill in the blanks there as you wish, depending on how optimistic and pessimistic you are. Do you make anything of that?
Adam Wharton, I don't know about his involvement today or not. And obviously we are the Transfer Insiders. We're here to speculate, discuss all those moves. What Adam Wharton wasn't doing at the World Cup is still beyond me. It still makes absolutely zero sense. I kind of hope he stays at Palace at this point for another year, but not involved today, like you say.
No, and look, I think what was interesting about last season with Palace was this kind of psychodrama around Oliver Glasner. And they've obviously got, talking before the break about new managers coming in. Peter Sarge has come in now, and he's guided Lens to Champions League football, and I think he got into the final of the French Cup as well. So he's done a really good job there. So he comes quite highly rated. But again, it's a reset, isn't it? It's really difficult. I think if I was a Palace fan, and they are my local club, I do look out for them. They've not really signed anyone. Oscar Mingueza from Spain, from Celta Vigo. Other than that, there's no incomings yet. they've done well. The last 2 years for them has been really, really good. So it stands to reason that these players that have helped them achieve that are going to be on people's radar. Like, Crystal Palace fans won't thank me for saying this on national radio, but is Daniel Munoz being looked at? Fantastic player. Mateta was out the door, wasn't he, this time last year or whenever it was? That Adam Wharton is really highly rated. It's another team who's in a bit of a state of flux, I think. So they need to get players in. They're going to be in the Europa League, aren't they, as well this season as well. So there's a lot of challenges to overcome.
Well, you want to know if Crystal Palace fans will be frustrated with you for those comments? Let's speak to one right now from the back of the neck. Try that again, shall I? From the back of the Nest podcast.
See what they did with the name of that? Yeah, it works, doesn't it? Fooled you, didn't it?
Yeah, some would argue that's a low bar. Patrick O'Connor is with us. Patrick, how are you doing, sir?
I'm great, gentlemen. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Very well indeed. How are you feeling about Palace going into the new season then?
Optimistic. I heard you guys talking about Adam Wharton not playing today. He's actually nursing an injury from last season. But no, I'm optimistic. New manager. Looking forward to seeing what Pierre Sarge did. Obviously, lot to follow on from what Glasgow did with the FA Cup, Community Shield, and Conference League. But no, I'm optimistic. It's never great losing players. You guys talking about that. Obviously, we'll get into that. But no, I'm optimistic for the season this year.
When you consider what Pierre Sarge actually achieved in Liga, and he's one of those managers who comes in with a great reputation amongst people who kind of followed it. I mean, getting a club that should be nowhere near the Champions League places up to second is sensational. How much of a difficulty is it for him taking over from Glasner, and what are your kind of expectations from him as a manager?
Well, clearly the main difference will be obviously the leagues, but he gave PSG a great run with the Lens side last season. He's more of a coach, which I really like. He likes to nurture young players, bring them through. I mean, a player that we had, Odson Edouard, that we basically discarded. He got him to score double-digit goals last season for them. So it'll be difficult. But one of the great things about it is the transition, is the system that we play. We play a similar system to what Glasner played. He plays a 3-4-3. So the players will adjust to that. There's some different things that Sarge does. He crosses more from the wing backs and he presses more. But besides that, the system's very similar. So I think the players will adjust, and I'm really looking forward to see how he does in the Premier League.
Is it a case that you just, counting down the days till the transfer window closes because Palace have done so well for the last couple of years and they're in the position they're in where they're not necessarily going to be able to hold on to the big, most impressive players?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, every season I look forward to the transfer window opening and closing as soon as possible. Obviously, 2 years ago, we lost Olise and Anderson. Last year, Eze and Gehi, and now we've lost Akwa. I'm not worried about Wharton leaving, because if Wharton leaves, it'll be over 100 million. I'm not sure anyone wants to pay 100 million for him right now. But yeah, I listen, as a Palace fan, if it was possible, I'd love every player that ever signed with Palace to stay for their entire careers, but it's not possible, right? Because players come, players go. So I'm used to it. I'm not complaining. Again, when you win trophies, when you haven't won any in an entire club's history, and you win 3 in the course of a year and a bit, I got nothing to complain about, really.
So as much as you're trying not to lose your best players, where do you need to strengthen? Where would you like to see Sarge going and actually making some moves?
100%. Centre backs, obviously losing Lacroix is going to be big. We've got Riyad, Richards, and JD Convo, but we're going to need at least 2 centre backs. I'm going to say one of an experienced one and one young, like Convo came in last year as an 18-year-old and did a great job towards the end of the season. Centre midfield, possibly another midfielder. Check the Corée. He's coming off an injury, hasn't played in over a year and a half. But you've got Wharton, Kamada, Hughes, Lerma. And I would say a number 10, honestly. I love Ismail Assar, been brilliant for us. Pino won the World Cup in Spain. But you've got Brennan Johnson, not impressed with that signing. Hopefully he'll do better this season as a 10. I'm looking for another 10 on the other side. We do have 2 young players that were on loan last season. Romain Esse was at Coventry, and Mateus France we bought to replace Wilf Zaha, went on loan last year to Vasco da Gama in Brazil, didn't do well. So I would say, honestly, centre backs, a midfielder, and a number 10.
Yeah, and the fact that Palace ended the season domestically pretty badly, would you put that down to the idea that Glasner's on his way out the door, they're prioritising Europe, and there's not too much to read into that? Because to me, like I say, Palace are my local club, so I do look out for them quite a lot. Yeah, going into the Europa League, challenging on a number of different fronts, a new manager coming in, certain players leaving. Sure, there's a little bit of trepidation around when the season starts.
100%. I mean, last we played 60 matches. Squad wasn't very deep. Luckily, the Conference League, we really did a good job of getting through that, navigating that. But the squad wasn't very deep, and that was our biggest issue last year. Glasner clearly prioritized the Conference League, the same thing that Spurs did the year before. That's what you do when you're not experienced in Europe. You prioritize the competition that you can do well in. But we did take a massive dip in our Premier League form, and I didn't enjoy a lot of the light games at the end of the season. But again, it got us to a European final and a cup, which I can't complain about. But yeah, this season we have to strengthen the squad, do better. And again, we'll probably play upwards of 50 plus matches again this season. So we're going to have to get better as far as squad depth.
I was formulating this next question in my head a little bit, and I was thinking it's going to sound really, not demeaning's the wrong word, but like I'm talking down to somebody. And yet I remembered that between a Portsmouth fan and a Reading fan sat at this desk, we can't talk down to literally anyone at this point. No. But is there not an element of Palace playing with house money here? Is there not an element of, like, we've won the FA Cup, we've won a European trophy, as long as we finish 17th or higher, then we need to look to the future, and that's what we're building towards right now?
I've been a Palace fan since the early 70s, so clearly this is house money. I mean, prior to the last season, like I mentioned, the FA Cup season, we had won nothing in our whole career, bar the ZDS Cup. So, of course, there's that feeling with it. But, been in the Premier League now for going on 13, 14 seasons. Got good ownership. I think our recruitment plan is a solid one. Again, we do sell players. We do kind of get younger players in and move them on. But, yeah, listen, to have won 3 trophies in, a bit over a year, I'm not the kind of fan that's going to be moaning if we have a poor season this year. But yeah, house money, I would say 100%. I would say that's definitely true.
All right. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. Check out her fine work at the Back of the Nest podcast. There you go. Nailed
Cheers,
it.
Patrick.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you so much, Patrick. Appreciate your time, sir. You're listening to the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm Gavin. Luke Moore alongside me. After us from 7 this evening, it is live Commonwealth Games action, reaction to the day, live commentary as well. And so let's get the very latest from the goings-on up in Glasgow with talkSPORT's John Cushing.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Big news on day 2 is off the sporting field of play, unfortunately. Ailish McColgan has taken what she says is the difficult decision not to defend her women's 10,000-metre title. It follows her toe injury that she suffered in the London Marathon in April. She's just not fit enough to race, unfortunately. We've seen action in the netball for the first day here on day 2. England beating Northern Ireland 83-34 earlier. They face the defending champions and world champions Australia tomorrow, though, who thrash Tonga. Wales currently leading Uganda 31-28 at half-time. That one is tight. And talking of Wales, I've now arrived at the women's team gymnastics because all of these events in Glasgow are within an 8-mile radius. So I managed to get from the netball to the gymnastics in 45 minutes, which is pretty good going. But I tell you who is doing very well, not just me on the trains, but World Championship medalist Ruby Evans. She's leading the way in qualifying for the Welsh in the individual all-round after 2 rotations on the bars and vault. I'm here tonight, though, to see England, Canada and Australia go for gold in the women's team gymnastics. Adam Ramsey Petey at 9:04 tonight goes for his 5th gold medal of the Commonwealth Games. There's lots more swimming to come this evening, including the 200-metre freestyle women's final. We've got Olympic champion Molly O'Callaghan against the British champion Freya Colbert. This is the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games, and Natalie Sawyer is here from 7, and it's all live on talkSPORT.
Commonwealth Games update on talkSPORT with BYD. Dare to dream with BYD and the Commonwealth Games.
As John says, Commonwealth Games tonight from 7 here on talkSPORT. Bit of breaking transfer news coming into us here. Juventus are progressing in talks with PSG for Randall Kolo Muani. Spent last season on loan, of course, at Tottenham. Nothing done yet, but the offer of around 40 million euros plus add-ons is under discussion.
They must not have seen him.
Yeah, this is it.
Simple as that.
He had one great game at Villa Park last year where, like, the team were under the cosh and he turned up and I was like, oh, there is a footballer there.
Oh, there's definitely a footballer there.
But
nowhere around North London, though.
Yeah. Well, maybe Syrian ends up being just the right speed.
Maybe.
So supposedly he wants the move. Juventus hoping for a breakthrough following prolonged negotiations. That's the latest. talkSPORT understands via Ben Jacobs in the next hour. Arsenal do become the focus. A little bit Liverpool as well. Bruno Guimaraes will hear from the Newcastle manager Eddie Howe on what the very latest is with that situation. But Vinicius Junior coming to the Premier League, playing in North London. Could you have imagined that just a couple of short months ago? 03717 223344. Let's be positive. Let's get excited, Arsenal fans. This could be the most significant signing your team have made in a very, very long time. We want to hear from you on the Transfer Insiders here on talkSPORT.
If Arsenal,
Chelsea can't win a league.
If Arsenal don't win it, I think Chelsea, with Xabi Alonso,
No.
Chelsea need to be one of the teams dreaming. One of the teams. Look, a front line of Pedro, Esteval, Palmer, Rodgers is capable of scoring enough goals to win a league. If we now bring in Lacroix, bring in John Stones, sign a new goalkeeper, all of a sudden you're looking at a team with one game to play a week. You're looking at a team that could potentially win a league title.
Mate, you're talking guff.
No, that's not. That's
You're not
very
winning the
rational chap.
Rory, you're not winning the league.
We are unlikely to win it, but we are one of the 5 teams that can legitimately be considered capable of winning it.
No, you're not.
We are 100%.
No, you're not.
No, you're just a biased Tottenham fan.
No, you are not in the conversation to win the league.
We are.
You are. Let's get Champions League. That's your aim.
That's the primary aim because Arsenal are going to win the league. What I'm saying is, if Arsenal don't win the league,
right? We've got Liverpool, Man City.
So just forget Arsenal. Arsenal, it all goes wrong. They shoot themselves in the foot. It goes as wrong as it went for Liverpool. Look, that won't happen. I think Arsenal will win the league. Let's just pretend they don't. Arsenal are not champions. Who are? The answer to that question is
Liverpool,
Manchester United, Manchester City.
No, it's not Man United.
Liverpool, Chelsea.
No.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Well, you don't think Man United can win it?
No.
Of course they can.
No, they can't win the league. They can't.
Based
on the fact it's the second season of them. They've now got to deal with Europe. They've got to play, double the amount of games that they played.
Nobody accrued more points.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend, even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. They'd been introduced not for leg protection, but instead to give batters a strategic advantage. The idea was that batters could put their leg pads in front of the wicket if they missed the ball, preventing them from being bowled out. Obviously, that all changed when the LBW rule came in, but that was the theory behind them. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB though. That's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
welcome back to the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm Gavin alongside Luke Moore from the Football Ramble. This hour we'll talk about Vinicius Junior to North London. You're going to hear in a moment from Eddie Howe on the latest with Bruno Guimaraes. His name is another one hot on the lips of those in Woolwich. All that plus reaction to a worrying week for Scottish football and Roberto De Zerbi talking the talk at Tottenham, but will they walk the walk this season? All that coming up on the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Right, 03717 223344 is the number to call. You can get us on WhatsApp on that same number. You can text 81089 and the phone lines are open. We want to hear from you with the news and rumours that this superstar could be heading to the Premier League champions.
Right footed shot, what a goal! Oh, what a hit from Vinicius Junior.
The ego of him, but Vinny Junior. I mean, he got took off earlier on in the season, walked straight into the tunnel. I don't think his head's been turned. I think his ego's that big that he's another one that thinks he should play every game when he's not performing.
Guns missed it, headed in, Vinicius Junior for two.
Oh mate, loved him, absolutely loved him. I could not take my eyes off that battle.
But how dynamic is he, Vinicius Junior? Just this turbo energy that he seems to have and close control, terrific talent.
Bellingham rolling it in, Vinicius to win it for Real Madrid. It's 2-0.
Vinicius Junior is another level, another level.
Listen, let me give you just a little bit of the timeline on how this has come about today. Supposedly, Yan Diomande, who was headed to Paris Saint-Germain, is now Real Madrid bound. We haven't got a fee yet. Between 120 and 130 million euros is understood. Briefly, Man City, there was a flirtation, but apparently they are not in for Diomande. And that opened up the possibility of Vinicius Junior leaving Real Madrid. Now, already, the issue of the fact that he plays on the left side, where Kylian Mbappe likes to play for, already they were competing for places in the team last season. He also is represented by the same agents as Yan Diomande in Rock Nation. So reports coming out today, initially from David Ornstein, that whilst there have been no club-to-club talks yet, the idea of Vinicius Junior going to Arsenal has had approval at all levels within the club. Our very own Ben Jacobs, following up on the situation, stated that not only has he been offered to Arsenal, he's been offered to Liverpool as well, who supposedly have turned it away. Now, wages, apparently, are potentially an issue. Fee, with only a year left on his deal, potentially an issue. But when we talk about genuinely huge Premier League moves, like explosive, game-changing moves, a player coming from PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, one of the European giants, and coming to the Premier League, I don't know about you, I can't remember another time a move like this could and should have happened. People earlier were trying to cite Kai Havertz coming from Bayer Leverkusen, or even Erling Haaland. Obviously, that move has been significant and huge, but he still came from Borussia Dortmund. It still wasn't a signing from one of those top tier clubs. And I don't remember a time in Premier League history, if this move happens, where a player at the very top of their game, with the profile of Vinicius Junior, at the age he is, the quality of the player he is, has actually come to a Premier League club. So Arsenal, this is your moment right now. Get Bruno Guimaraes done. Get Vinicius Junior done. Whatever it's going to cost. Yes, it might break the wage structure. Deal with it. Get your players gathered round and tell them this is the guy who could push us over the top. This is the guy who could give us Champions League football. Go and make the splash. You've been bragging about the fact that you had the biggest Premier League revenue in history last season. Make the big splash. Put your foot on the neck of the Premier League. Win back-to-back for the first time ever. Vinicius Junior is the guy that gets you over the line. Come on, Arsenal. Get it done. Luke Moore.
If the Arsenal top brass are listening to that, Will, it's like Dead Poet Society in here. Everyone's up on the desks. The passion. From a Reading fan, no less. What are the Arsenal fans thinking with Reading fans are like that?
I'm not a huge Arsenal fan by any stretch of the imagination. My dad grew up in North London. He and his brother, at 6 years old, divided North London.
Can we get your dad on? What does he think about Vinny Junior?
Little awkward, that one.
I apologise.
His brother picked Arsenal. My dad picked Tottenham. I grew up with Tottenham in my family. I became a Reading fan. They were my local team. So there's no love lost for Arsenal.
No.
But
I think you're spot on, by the way. I have to say.
We are talking about a team who last off-season signed a bunch of good squad players who got them finally over that line. Stop the second place finishes, got them the Premier League title. Now is your moment. Go out and make the big splash.
And I think there's transfers and there's transfers, right? And there's strategy and there's strategy. So a lot of the top clubs obviously have loads of people in place. They have directors of recruitment, all the good stuff. And they say, this is what we want to do. This is how we're going to plan it. And then every so often, opportunities just come along. You can't plan for them. You don't know they're going to come. And you have a chance to make a big signing where you didn't think you'd have a chance to do so. And it's whether you decide to go for it or not. I think your foot on the throat point around the Premier League is spot on. We were saying it at the top of the show. There's a lot of upheaval elsewhere. Arsenal in a great settled position. They're in an amazingly envious position where they've had a manager for years and years who finally got it done. And now that's going to give them such an amazing amount of confidence. And to get a player of Vinicius Junior's level who, when he's at it, when he's on song, is just different gravy granules entirely. Total world-class quality talent as a forward player. He can make a huge difference. And, you mentioned to me in the break, people texting saying, is this going to happen? What's going on? Arsenal are interested the same way I'm interested in Margot Robbie or whatever it was you said, right? Read the text because it's a good text. Read it out.
PD in Devon says, afternoon, gents. Have I got this right? Arsenal are exploring the possibility of moving for Vinicius Junior. Well, I'm exploring the possibility of a date with Margot Robbie. Sounds like more Woolwich nonsense.
Yes, but listen, David Ornstein's not reporting that you are going in for Margot Robbie. He's not reporting that Margot Robbie's available. He is reporting that Vinny Junior might be available. David Ornstein, Ben Jacobs, they are decent quality connected journalists and they are reporting this. What's more, look at the Vinny Junior Mourinho situation. We know all about that, what happened earlier this year. Look at Vinny Junior's contract situation. They've not been able to get him to renew. He's out of contract in a year.
Supposedly a signing bonus is a huge part of that. Not just the wages themselves, but a signing bonus for Vinicius Junior is something he is looking for in a big way. So just talking the numbers of it, right? The expectation is the fee, because he's only got a year left on his contract, will be around the 100 million
€100 million. That's not going to be a problem for Arsenal, the fee, is it? The fee's not going to be a problem. No.
His current wages are around £340,000 a week, once you kind of transpose it from euros, right? That would already dwarf the new contract Bukayo Saka signed, which is about 300 grand a week. It would make him easily the highest paid player at Arsenal, and actually you suspect he'd want more. You suspect actually...
Well, he's holding out for a lot more, isn't he, for the new deal for Real Madrid? Way more.
You would expect with signing on bonus plus his weekly wage that he'd be costing you in the region of £500,000 a week over the course of his contract. But for me, if you're getting him for 100 million euros, 95 million quid, and you're paying him that sort of money... But he's a player who's worth 175, who's worth 200 if you're signing him with 4 years left on his deal. So you've got to do that. And I mean, it sounds like, I remember when Girl Math went all viral about a year or two ago with this idea of like justifying how you're spending things. Do football math on this and say, listen, yes, we're paying him more than anyone else, but we got him for cheaper than we should get him for. When you draw that contract out over the length of 3 or 4 years, actually you're saving money on what it costs.
Also, if he wins Arsenal the Champions League or he contributes heavily towards it,
who cares?
Are those other players going to care?
That's the big question.
They're not on the poverty line, Will.
He's not known as being the greatest teammate necessarily. He had issues earlier this season when he threw his toys out of the pram when being taken off during El Clasico. By the way, an El Clasico that Real Madrid won
the game, yeah.
A lot think it contributed to Xabi Alonso leaving. There was eventually a bit of a swing in the dressing room towards Vinny Jr. away from Kylian Mbappe when there was all that nonsense about him going holidaying in Santorini instead of supporting the team in the Champions League.
Santorini is absolutely lovely, though, by the way.
Oh, beautiful.
Such a nice spot.
If I could go and spend some time in Santorini with a supermodel like Kylian Mbappe was, I think I'd be fine with that.
Well, even if Vinny Jr. didn't like it, he wouldn't stop you.
I don't care how much it upsets Chin. I'm going to be frank on that. I've lost my train entirely here. So supposedly not like necessarily a great dressing room guy, right?
Yeah, but situations, isn't it? When Real Madrid's an absolute soap opera.
I think if you're going to say, right, we're going to bring this guy in, he's the guy who's going to get us over the top, it's going to be a marquee, splashy signing that's going to really show intent, then it's Mikel Arteta's job to sit down with the players like Bukayo Saka, sit down with the stars of their team who aren't going to be earning that same money and say, do you want to be a Champions League winner? Do you want to go back-to-back in the Premier League? Something only City, Chelsea and Man United have done. Arsenal never did it under Wenger. Do you want to go into legends? Do you want a statue built of you outside? Do you want to have a career that goes on for another 10 years and you're known as being a top-tier successful footballer? This guy's going to help get you there. Also, don't worry that he's earning more than you.
Exactly, because also, Will, the best players want to play with the best players. Right? I promise you now, those players will be super excited on the first day. Well, it's obviously past the first day of pre-season. super excited when it comes to the first game of the season to have a player like that boost in their ranks. I mean, it'd be so exciting to play. Look, from a neutral's point of view, I'd love to see him in the Premier League. I think, you could also make the argument, given the situation, given what he's actually been through as well. In Spain, he's found it tough for lots of reasons that aren't fair and that aren't his own fault. He's been in the Liga for like 7 or 8 years now. Why not a change? Why not a move to the Premier League, which is the best league in the world? Why not come and do that? It may be a bit of motivation coming from him as well. Change is as good as a rest and all that. So I think it's a really exciting prospect. I'd love to see him come. I would. I think he's very, very top level. He's elite. On his day, he is elite.
We will also talk about the Bruno Guimaraes element of this as well, because I think that is shoring up the midfield, not having Declan Rice have to play 60-plus games again this season after the year he's just had. All of that is equally important to Arsenal, and I think that's a deal they also need to try and get over the line as soon as possible. But Arsenal fans, come on. Come on, this is a day. These are the kind of banner days, if this happens, that you don't get more than once or twice in a lifetime. When your team goes and gets an absolute superstar, you should be heralding this as a change of tack from your club, as a moment where actually you could do something that could truly change the way your club is perceived and the way your club is going forward. Forget Chelsea trying to catch you. Forget City trying to catch you. Forget Liverpool trying to catch you. You could really establish yourself as the dominant force. So 03717 223344. It's 03717 223344 is the number to call. Loads of you getting in touch on the text. We'll get through those as well. We'll take your calls this hour. Guests on the way. What an hour we've got coming up for you on the Transfer Insiders here on talkSPORT.
Jack Grealish.
Yep.
Also going to be back at Man City.
Yep.
Next season.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with Jack if he's given a chance by Maresca, because he would have been part of that Man City squad that Maresca was at. Or will the manager think no, and will Jack think, you know what, maybe I want to move on? I think it's still early doors. I think we have to see what happens over the next 6 weeks. Still 6 weeks left of the transfer window. Start of September it closes. I don't see him staying there. I see him moving on. It wouldn't surprise me if he moves somewhere else in Europe. I don't see him staying in the Premier League. So I think he's still got 1 year left, I think, of his contract. So the wages as well, will that be a problem for some of the clubs, maybe in the Premier League? But don't rule out maybe back to Everton. David Moyes loved him.
Yeah, he did well there.
Yeah, he done very well there.
Did well there. Okay, interesting. And then, of course, Rodri, reportedly waiting for Real Madrid president Florentino Perez to sanction his return to Spain. And then there's growing support for the move in the capital after he skippered them to the World Cup. Of course, as well, he's linked to Real Madrid. Do you see that one getting done?
It depends, because I did see that from Perez saying that it's not something that they want to do. And I don't think Manchester City...
Back with the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm with Gavin, Luke Moore alongside me this afternoon. Loads of you getting in touch on Vinicius Jr. potentially becoming an Arsenal player. One in coming in from 089. Don't forget to put your names on the text. Says the commercial upside to signing Vinny is massive. Saudi move at the end of his contract would protect the outlay. God, you're really getting ahead of yourself with that.
I love that.
Yeah, give him a
what we're thinking, man.
Give him a percentage of his shirt sales. Give him the same salary as Saka. He also relates it to Stan Kroenke bringing in the best offensive player in the NFL this off-season. They went big. This feels right. Get it done. Love that positivity. On the other side, Abdul says, I'm being realistic. I can't see us signing Vinny Jr. One of those dream rumours that we get to talk about. But his attitude is something Mikel will look at. The fees are not in Arsenal's policy. He isn't the type for Arsenal to break these policies. Come on! We need you.
Ornstein's saying the opposite.
Fans.
Ben Jacobs is saying the opposite. They're saying it's been approved at all levels at Arsenal.
A couple of people comparing it to the Mesut Ozil deal on transfer deadline day. Tom says last time they went this big from an Arsenal perspective was when we signed Ozil, top of his game from Real Madrid. This would knock that out of the park. And this is a conversation we had, right? When's the last time you remember a signing this big coming from one of the big four, big five clubs from Europe is?
Yeah, it doesn't happen very. It's surprisingly infrequent as a situation.
The comparisons we were getting on social media: Angel Di Maria coming to United.
Yeah, Shevchenko, Chelsea.
Like
that was a big name.
Cristiano Ronaldo coming back to United, but again towards the latter part of his career.
And
Rafael Varane at that same time.
What about Juan Sebastian Veron?
Juan Sebastian Veron's not bad.
He's going back some years now, though.
But not only are you going back over a decade, but also none of those feel as significant as a top 3 winger in the world. Who plays for Real Madrid right now and might become an Arsenal player. So 0371722 3344 is the number to call to get involved on this one. But first, let's get a guest. A great expert voice from Spain. If you've not heard him on the station before, where have you been? Phil Kitchemalidis is in the house. Phil, how are you, sir?
Hi guys, very good, thanks.
Hi Phil.
Listen, love that we've managed to get you on. You know I'm a big fan of yours. How much are you buying into this Yan Diomande to Real Madrid and suddenly Vinicius Junior is getting floated to Premier League clubs?
Yeah, I mean they're both very much definitely linked, one story and the other. And listen, the Vinicius story at the moment is that Arsenal have approved and are interested in signing him. It's not that they've made a bid. It's not that they've been speaking to Real Madrid. It's that they are interested in signing him, which fair enough. And you know what? Vinicius to Arsenal makes a lot of sense, actually, on a lot of levels on both sides. Vinicius going into the final year of his contract hasn't necessarily felt like he's the main man at Real Madrid since the arrival of Kylian Mbappe. He's been asking, I've been told, for around 30 million euros a year at Real Madrid, which is about 550 K euros a week. Real Madrid aren't going to pay that. Can Arsenal come anywhere close to that? He would slot in on the left. He would be the main man. It would be a deal that makes a lot of sense, I think, for both sides. It will come down to money, whether or not Arsenal are prepared to sort of pay those kind of wages. But as you were saying before, this would be a monumental deal, one of the biggest transfers in Premier League history if it were to go through.
Is there any, Phil, I don't want to pour cold water on this because we're having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's a really fascinating story, right? And it's pretty well sourced, as we keep saying. But is there any indication, perhaps, and maybe you've not had any contact with Real Madrid themselves, but is there any indication that it could be a little cheeky move to force Real Madrid's hand read a new contract for Vinny Jr.?
Yes, of course. There's a lot of stuff that goes on like that. Yeah. But Real Madrid aren't very, they don't take kindly to having their hands being forced. So if they feel like that is happening, I don't think that they will be particularly pleased about that. I've been told that inside the club, Real Madrid, they feel like Arsenal are basically the only team that are likely to take Vinicius away from Real Madrid this summer. And like I said, Vinicius has been trying to sort out a deal with Real Madrid, a new contract. For the last year and a half, we've been told that, it's sorted. We just got to finalise it. Yeah, we're really close. Yeah. And it's not. And it's not been done. There's still big differences in terms of the figures that Real Madrid are proposing and Vinicius are proposing. And if you get into the final year of this contract, and this is a pretty much unprecedented situation to have a player this big, this good going into the final year of his contract. You don't let players like this get into this kind of situation, but somehow Real Madrid have. So it's a very uncomfortable situation for everyone, but it could turn out to be pretty good for Vinicius. The one thing is, though, if he doesn't go this year, then he can go for free next season, and he can get even bigger wages if he goes for free as well. So that's something potentially he will think about. But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'll go back to this point. Real Madrid will not take kindly if they think that they're having their hands forced by Vinicius. We've seen it time and time again. Major stars, legends of the club. Think of Cristiano Ronaldo. Think of Sergio Ramos. Think of those guys who tried to get better deals from Real Madrid and ended up leaving the club.
And I don't think it's insignificant that Yan Diomande and Vinicius Junior are both represented by Rock Nation, and it's Yan Diomande who's supposedly coming in to take up the position on the right and opening up this possibility of him leaving. We did start off the show by talking about Rodri as well. Like, clearly there's a bit of an arms race going on in Spain right now, and Real Madrid need to get back up to the top of the tree. So that feels like the other big deal that they're desperate to get over the line. And how significant would that be for that Real Madrid midfield?
Rodri's the player that Real Madrid have needed for a couple of years now. I'm very surprised that they're not going for him. He is clearly like clearly the player that they need in their midfield. One big thing plays against him, and that is that in the presidential elections for Real Madrid's presidency a couple of months ago, the person who opposed Florentino Perez said, "I will sign Rodri if I'm elected." And Florentino Perez will not like the fact that he is linked to the other guy's candidacy. Didn't like the fact that Rodri won the Ballon d'Or over Vinicius in 2024 as well. So these are sort of emotional things that are impeding Rodri joining Real Madrid. Logistically, logically, they should clearly sign him. There are some bit of reticence because he's 30 and he's had injury issues, but he's 30, he's not 40, he's still 30. He's still at the top of his game, as we've just seen at the World Cup. He should be Real Madrid's #1 transfer target because that is an area of the pitch that they absolutely need to strengthen. And for what it's worth, from what we're told, Rodri is really quite open to a move to Real Madrid as well. So that is a deal. That's a deal that we really should be talking about because that makes a lot of sense for Real Madrid to try and sign him.
But you can't really apply logic to it with Real Madrid with types of players like that, can you?
Perez.
They do an amazing job of basically not signing functional players that they really need in favour of signing really glamorous signings they potentially don't need, right?
Let's get another left winger.
Exactly.
It's fine. Let's get someone else to play on the left. Yeah.
Phil, wonderful stuff from you as always. Thank you so much. The great Phil Kitchen-Leadis joining us to give us the Spanish perspective on this transfer. You are watching the Transfer Insider / listening to it from talkSPORT. Just on that money, this idea he wants 30 million euros a year from Real Madrid. So obviously I went and did the maths on it.
Yeah,
that works out to somewhere in the region of about 500 grand a week in terms of pounds, right? Bukayo Saka's getting 300,000 a week. If you do the deal in terms of he gets 300 or 350 or whatever that looks like, and then you just give him a 30 million euro signing bonus on top, people forget that the signing bonus was there. He sits within the wage structure.
But can you give a signing? I thought you could only give a signing bonus if it was a free transfer.
I don't know. I'm sure there is ways around this. I'm sure there are ways.
I thought you were going to suggest all the other players could chip in.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you want the Champions League or not? Do you want it or not?
Yeah. Everyone give up 20 grand a week in their contract to go to Vinicius Junior to get in.
I'll tell you what, I'm really interested to see how this develops over the coming days and weeks. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens because you might see other clubs. I mean, I know Phil said there that Arsenal are really the only realistic destination, but you might see other clubs being flushed out by this. You might see, Vinny Junior, playing a game of poker with Real Madrid and losing, as Phil said. Other players have done that in the past. Bigger players in Real Madrid's history than Vinny Junior. So it's going to be an interesting development over the next week or so. I'm excited to hopefully talk about it on Trans Europe Express tomorrow night as well.
David, it's going to be a nice little plug for your own show, by the way. Brilliant stuff. Not going to be 5 years again until you
happy to be here. It's still going to be a day, apparently. I'm very happy to be here.
473 on the text says, not a chance Arsenal sign Vinny. It would be just like Aubameyang. Their dressing room is built on togetherness. Wouldn't have him even at Leeds. He's just trouble. Strong there. He's using Arsenal to get a better deal from Real Madrid, says David. I think a lot of people feel like that could be the direction. Michael Ballack to Chelsea is one that Emma throws out at his peak when he signed. But again, good player. Very much, great player. Let's be honest, all-time player.
Different position, I guess. And was he out of contract at Bayern Munich when he came? Might have been out of contract from what I remember.
It's not.
No, it's not as sexy. Well, and we're all about what's the most sexy thing to happen on this show, as you well know. So it's very, very important that you pointed that out.
Two of the sexiest presenters on talkSPORT. I mean, from a journalistic perspective, obviously. You are watching the Transfer Insiders / listening to us. You should be watching us if you're not on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Don't forget tonight, live boxing from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. We've got the Commonwealth Games from 7 p.m. and then from 10, Anthony Joshua, Christian Prenga, the main event live on talkSPORT. You can listen to all the build-up on the boxing YouTube channel from 7 p.m. and then 10 o'clock for the main event right here. This is the Transfer Insiders. Up next, we'll take your calls 03717 22 3344 here on talkSPORT.
If it is true, that is the one for Tottenham, the one that got away. If you think about what Abramovich did to Chelsea, did to Premier League football, did to world football, he He was a benefactor.
He turned you into a big
a monster. Yeah, he turned us into a monster.
Yeah, he did, because he wasn't a big club before him. He was an average size club.
I mean, we certainly, if you want to do this, which I don't suggest you should, but if you want to do this, in the 10 years prior to Abramovich, Chelsea won more than you've won in the Premier League era.
Up the shells.
In the 10 years.
Honestly, you and Cundy.
In the 10 years, because you can't let it go. You say one thing and I just
one thing. Like, I literally just said one thing and that was it. Like, bang, I got the fishing rod out.
Yeah. In the 10 years prior to you have. In the 10 years prior to Abramovich taking over Chelsea, so just go the 10 years prior to that, Chelsea won more than Tottenham have in the entire Premier League era. So you want to, when that run.
Would you win the Cup Winners' Cup?
We won. We did win the Cup Winners' Cup. Yeah. Yes, we did.
Good trophy.
We did win the Cup Winners' Cup. Yes, we did.
We won the Audi Cup.
We won the FA Cup. We won the League Cup. We won the Super Cup, beating Real Madrid in Monaco. Gus Poyet scoring the winner. We didn't lose to Tottenham at home for 27 years. A lot of that record obviously stretched into that pre-Abramovich period.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, we were calling it 3-point lane.
Been 3-point lane for a while.
We were calling it 3-point lane way before Roman Abramovich came along.
Still is.
Valverde across the face of goal, and it's steered in by Vinicius, who found some space at the far post, and it's one perceptive potent cross. Liverpool switched off at the back, Vinicius sweeps it in, and Real Madrid lead Liverpool by a goal to nil, and it's come from the avenue that every Liverpool fan feared.
Matt in Islington claims that Man City will get Vinny Jr. last minute because they haven't forgiven them for the Declan Rice situation. Gary comes in saying no chance Vinny Jr. is going to Arsenal. Contract negotiation tactic. There's a lot of this coming in from fans of other clubs. We haven't heard from any Liverpool fans yet, by the way, who apparently
fingers in their ears.
Vinny Jr. has been offered to both Liverpool and Arsenal have gone, yeah, let's explore this. Yeah. And Liverpool have just dismissed it out of hand.
Yeah, because is he going to improve them when they've got Cody Gakpo there? That's up to you to decide. I'm not suggesting he is or isn't. I'm just asking Liverpool fans what they think about that.
Jeremy gets in touch on Twitter as well and asks, has Will ever even spoken to an Arsenal fan? Why would he possibly want all of this for them? Why would why would I want them to sign one of the best players in the world? It's a daft question. Come on. 03717223344. I'm Will Gavin. That's Luke Moore. This is the Transfer Insiders. Let's go to the phones. First up, Nicholas is an Arsenal fan in North London. Come on, Nicholas. How hyped are you for this this statement of a signing from your club?
Got to be a little bit balanced because obviously it's a long way to go. But this will be the first time, I think, in our history that we've signed not just a good player, but the best player from one of the biggest clubs in European football. It just doesn't happen. Usually it's the other way around. We're so used to Manchester City and Real Madrid handpicking all our best players from us back in the days when it wasn't too long ago and we had to sell players because we couldn't afford to keep them or we weren't good enough. But now we are the Premier League champions. We are the best team in England by far, and we have a unique opportunity. And it's unique because he's only got 1 year left on his contract. Real Madrid cannot afford to let one of their biggest assets go away for nothing. So it all comes down to what Vinny wants, really. Does he want to become, number 2 at Real Madrid, number 2 to Mbappe, or does he want to come to Arsenal and become pretty much a footballing god if he comes to Arsenal?
We've got to be balanced, but he is a footballing god.
We are going to have to deal with it.
He has the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, he has.
If they show him the statues of Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp and say, right, where do you want yours to be? Because if he helps us win the Champions League for the first time in our history, trust me, they'll be erecting a blooming statue for him.
Nicholas, you said you wanted to be balanced, right? I understand you started the call saying that, and good for you. But be honest, be emotionally honest with yourself. Are you daring to dream?
Have do, because I mean, everything seems to fit in line quite nicely. I mean, ironically, I was talking to my son about this morning, about which left-sided player we can genuinely buy, because I wasn't overly excited about Morgan Rogers, because he's more of a number 10 stroke left-sided player, and the two best left wingers are Vinicius Jr. and Kvaratskhelia, and Kvaratskhelia, no chance at all in getting him. But the fact that he's down to 1 year left on his contract,
yeah,
it's a very, very unique situation. If he had 2 years left on his contract, I'd say no chance, because Real Madrid will ask for like £400-500 million, which is never going to happen. I mean, his buyout clause is €1 billion, for goodness sake, €1 billion, and we can end up signing him for about 100 million. I mean, for me, I'd sign him just so I could turn around to Chelsea and say, now you know who the biggest club in London is. Not just in London, but in England, boys.
I mean, it is true that my memory is short, because people are asking if I've ever spoken to an Arsenal fan before. The insufferables will be out in force if Arsenal sign Vinny Jr., won't they?
Yeah, they will, but
there will be another million-man parade through the streets of North London if Jr.
But football fans are all like that. That's why I asked Nicholas there, because ultimately that's a fan's job. You're not going to get excited about a result or a potential signing that's really big. Yeah, what's the point of it? I always kind of recoil when you get people in our industry talking about, is that team over celebrating? Are the fans over celebrating? It's like, that's the whole point of this. They are supposed to be happy, because a lot of the time it's not that good. So when it is, that's why you've got to dare to dream. It's totally the role we have as football fans, to be excited about things that might happen. And of course, it's Spurs fans' role and Chelsea fans' role in this situation to go, it'll never happen. Until it does happen. If it does, then they have to suck it up. That's the whole point of this. So I'm pleased that Nicholas is excited. I'm pleased he's daring to dream. I don't think he has been balanced, but that's fine.
03717 223344. Nicholas, before we let you go, just one more. Bruno Guimaraes. Earlier on, Sophie Nicolau, I respect Sophie. She's been a regular presenter on this station, like regular contributor, has strong opinions about Arsenal, huge fan, right? She claimed that the Bruno Guimaraes signing is more important than Vinicius Jr. Are you having that?
It's a very important. The reason why it's a very important position, I'm not sure if it's more important, but it's just as important, certainly, because of Declan Rice. He can't play 60, 70 games again. It's impossible. And we have no one in our squad who has the legs to replace Declan Rice. Yes, we've got Zubimendi. Yes, we've got Mourinho, and potentially got Skelly as well, can play in central midfield. But can anyone genuinely out there replace Declan Rice at the moment? Bruno Guimaraes can do that job. Definitely. He's a 6, he's an 8. For me, he was Brazil's best player in the World Cup, by far, even better than Vinny. So he's a hugely important player. The question is, though, Newcastle don't need to sell him because they've made the money. And I think he does have that element of respect. But the fact is that they're not in the Champions League. And a player of that calibre, the captain of Brazil, needs to be playing Champions League football. And that's what we got to dangle. So I think, just imagine if we sign Bruno Guimaraes and Vinicius Jr., the two best players in Brazil, playing for Arsenal. Dare to dream. Wow, that's utopia, my friends.
Although it is Arsenal signing another player who shouldn't be anywhere near a penalty. That is the only thing I would say. Thank you very much. Brilliant call, Nicholas. Thank you to you. 03717 223344. I asked for it. You've delivered. Paul, the Liverpool fan, how are you feeling about this news?
Glad, extremely glad. Hello, boys, by the way.
Hello.
There's two reasons why Liverpool wouldn't sign a player like Vinicius Jr. Number one, he's a bad seed for the dressing room. But more importantly, he's nowhere near as good as Rio Engamo is going to prove to be. Nowhere near.
Nowhere near as good as Rio. I really like Rio Engamo. I think he's a special talent. You are talking about a proven world-class player in his mid-20s, in his pomp, versus a teenager who's got a real opportunity to get...
Exactly, and also, what's wrong with him going under Vinny's wing and learning from one of the best? You know, I think it's a bit weird comparison at this point in Gamoa's career, really.
Maybe you do, but I'll be proven right.
Well, look, Paul, appreciate the call. I love the level of cope coming from Liverpool fans right now. We had another one in on the text who said, if this is true that Liverpool have turned down the chance to sign Vinny Jr., brilliant news. Wouldn't want him anywhere near the club. Same with Mbappe. They're not team players, only interested in themselves. And then points out that PSG won 2 European Cups since Mbappe left versus Real, who have won nothing. Simon in Reading. Come on, Simon. You should be a Reading fan. Let's be honest, if that's where you are. 03717 223344 is the number to call to get in touch. Let's go to, let's get the other side of North London. Let's go to Taz, a Spurs fan. Taz, how you feel? You've had a great summer. You've signed players that Tottenham desperately needed. And yet it looks like you might get overshadowed by Arsenal signing Vinny Jr.?
Yeah, we're doing well so far. Let's see how it goes. We need a bit more in attack. But to be honest, if you gave me Vinny Jr. right now, £100 million, £200 million, I wouldn't take him.
You wouldn't have him at Spurs?
This is coming up a lot. It's interesting, this, isn't it?
I can't tell if it's cope or legit. Sorry, go on.
Personality, he does not get on with his teammates. It's all about him. He's not even that good, to be honest with you. He's on his last year. He wants a payday. £450,000 a week. I actually hope they do it. Because I know what's going to happen, and I've got a brother in La Liga. He goes every week for Barcelona, and he actually seen Vinny Jr. for what he is. He's a good player, but he's not the real deal. He's just not. And he gets triggered very easily. And I can see Premier League defenders really rallying him up. And yeah, man, he's gonna get found out. I actually hope Arsenal sign him. I spend a lot of money on him because at the end of the day, look, Arsenal have never won a European trophy, and that's what they really want to do. And he's not the answer for them, I'm afraid.
Well, they have won a European trophy. They haven't won the Champions League, but they have won a European trophy. But ultimately, I totally understand your point of view, and you have your opinion on him. That's fair enough. But I don't really think you can honestly, with a straight face, say he's not even that good. I mean, you're talking 3 La Ligas, 2 Champions Leagues. He is a top level player. He may not fit in. He may not even sign. He may not be a player you'd want to see at Spurs. But I don't think you can realistically say he's not even that good. I don't think that's fair.
He's not that good. I said he's a good player.
You said he isn't even that good. You said he isn't even that good. Those were the exact words you said.
The way that you guys are bigging him up and making him into like an amazing world-class player. I mean, what did he do in the World Cup?
Well, I mean, fine, but his career as a world class or not world class player is not summed up in 4.5 weeks in a single World Cup. I've just told you he's won 2 Champions Leagues.
I also think he was Brazil's best player as much as.
And he's played for Real Madrid for 8 seasons.
Yeah,
he's scored like something well over 100 goals for Real Madrid. Yeah, I think it's a let me just call it. It's a low percentage opinion. Is what I'm saying.
I think he's an absolute superstar, and I think Taz, I appreciate your point. I appreciate your call, but I think people are trying to justify it. This idea that he's not even that good, he's not even that special. It would be a huge statement for the Premier League and for Arsenal in particular if Vinicius Jr. scored. And I think there are valid concerns about questioning, is he going to be a good dressing room guy? Is he going to upset the balance? But Mikel Arteta, according to Arsenal fans, is a superstar manager who can take this team forward into the future, who is the reason that you're now winning trophies again. He is the man who has to control it. He's the man who has to be able to handle that. And what I can't stand, I have to say, and do call us 03717 223344, is this thing of, I can't wait for Premier League defenders to get into him. I can't wait for him to get into the physicality of our league. There's no way he'll do it on a wet Wednesday night in Stoke and all of that nonsense. He's a special player. Special players rise above that. I think he'll be brilliant.
He also played domestically in Brazil, when he was like 17. So I think he'll be able to handle that side of it. If he wants to, that is. We're probably getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. But he's a top quality player. Of course he is.
What's wrong with getting ahead of ourselves, Luke?
No, it's true. Exactly. We're here to entertain, of course. Absolutely right.
Daniel is a Man United fan. He's called 03717 223344. Daniel, how are you, sir?
How are you, gents?
Very good.
Can't complain. Having a lot of fun. What do you want to say about Vinny?
Brilliant. Just more to the point, though. Someone mentioned he might have been the biggest transfer in Premier League history. Was that said?
I think
it could be. It could
Daniel,
be.
I will state my case. I think that when you talk about his profile, the timing, his age, who he's playing for, I think it is in that conversation.
Besides the age, I think I've got one that pips it. I might be wrong.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me, Daniel.
AC Milan to Chelsea, Andrei Shevchenko. I'm sure he'd only just won a Ballon d'Or or the European Player of the Year. For me, he was the best striker on the planet at the time. I know it didn't go well for him there, but the signing itself, I thought, was a bigger signing than the Vinny one from Madrid. Personally, I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. He did get mentioned as part of the conversation.
Oh, he got mentioned.
No, not on the show. Not on the show. You're spot on. You're on the lines of way we're thinking in the office earlier, because he obviously he comes to Chelsea in 2006, 30 million, a lot of money at the time. One of Europe's best strikers. Won the Ballon d'Or or whatever it was then. I think it was still the Ballon d'Or then. 2004, so a couple of years before that. He was a massive statement signing for Chelsea and a huge fee. So I think you're right to say that. He was also at the top of his game. He'd come off a really good a goal scoring season for Milan that year before as well. So I think you're right to say it. I think he's definitely part of the conversation.
Daniel, it's a great sight. How are you feeling about United going into the new year?
Oh, it's hard to say. I want to be optimistic, but, you know, like, remember the Solskjaer time when we finished second, and then the following year he got the job full time and everything collapsed, and I'm a little bit nervous. Fingers crossed, few new signings, we should be all right.
It's ridiculous. I don't know why I'm feeling so charitable today. I really believe in Michael Carrick. I'm really excited about what he's going to do at United.
What I rate about Carrick is that he can come in there and it's a soap opera. You know how much of a circus it is, and obviously Jim Radcliffe being there didn't help either, and all some of the things he was saying. And Carrick was able just to calm the whole thing down. To me, the question mark over him now and United for the new season is twofold. Can he handle some kind of crisis, which you think probably would happen in some capacity at United because they're such a big club? And can he manage so many more games because they're now going to be playing in Europe? So I think those two things are hanging over them. Other than that, I think he's done a good job. And I think you're probably right to be quietly optimistic. But of course, you never know. It's the Premier League.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you so much. Great call, Daniel. Just want to hear from Eddie Howe. We did talk about this a little bit earlier, but posted on the Newcastle United X account following a pre-season draw at Gateshead. Newcastle boss Eddie Howe has been asked what he's made of the club's summer business so far.
What have you made of the summer business so far at this point of the summer?
Yeah, I don't think it's been a challenging summer for us. Being honest, losing Anthony and Sandro is tough for us, the staff, the players and the supporters, because we want to keep our best players and we want to ideally grow the team. So we've taken a hit there. We're trying to then replace, obviously, due to financial constraints, we're going to a sort of a different phase of our recruitment, going very young. And those young players really need support and they need time to develop their skills. But I think individually they're all exciting talents. I think they've got great futures ahead of them. But we just need to be calm with them.
Yeah, interesting decision to interview Eddie Howe in my son's soft play.
It did sound like a swimming pool on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, it does.
Eddie Howe, fascinating thoughts from him, though. And yes, challenging is certainly a way to describe this summer. We'll happily hear from Newcastle fans as well. 03717 22 3344. And Arsenal fans, if you fancy celebrating today's potential news, the sun is shining. And if you're heading out this weekend, make sure to grab a pint of So Good Lager from talkSPORT and Meantime. It's available in all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports bars across the country. Find out where your nearest pub is at talksport.com/so good. Of course, 18 plus. Always drink responsibly. Keep those calls coming in. 03717 22 3344. We'll keep them coming in on this potential Vinicius Junior move from Real Madrid to Arsenal. You're back with the Transfer Insiders. It's nice. Groove for a Sunday evening as we start to, like, the witching hours coming in. The light is beautiful outside. What is it? What day is it? Did I say Sunday? You know what? Doesn't matter. Saturday, Sunday, get out, enjoy yourself. And just keep listening to talkSPORT while you're doing it. Don't forget, later tonight we've got the live boxing in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, as Anthony Joshua takes on Christian Prenga, and we're expecting some Tyson Fury nonsense after the bout as well. So you'll want to be locked in here on talkSPORT from 10 p.m. But before that, it's Commonwealth Games from 7 p.m. with Natalie Sawyer and Greg Rutherford. And ahead of our coverage tonight, let's get the very latest from Glasgow with John Cushing.
Yeah, well, and we've had some great boxing here already this morning because Nick Devlin, the Scottish fighter who lives 20 minutes from the SEC Centre, won his lightweight bout by unanimous judges' decision. We've got two home nations fighters in action this evening as well. Wales's Daniel Pitt and Alan Perry of Scotland, both in the light heavyweight first round. So it's going to be huge for the home nations this evening before, of course, as you say, that big one on talkSPORT from 10. I'm right now at the gymnastics where there was a slightly sombre but weirdly celebratory scene last night after the fall, of course, from Team England's Gabriel Langton. In the women's team competition here, though, the qualifying as well, atmosphere has been very much lighter. Some great displays. In fact, Wales, who are in action at the moment, are currently second in the standings with just one whole rotation to go. They've still got the vault to come, but they're second in the team standings ahead of the final, of course, subdivision this evening. The Welsh world silver medalist on the floor, Ruby Evans, has shown why she's world class. She's just done the best floor display of the day so far, 12.9 for her. Talking of Wales, they look like they're going to lose the netball where I was earlier. It's Wales 50, Uganda 59 at the latest there, and England and Australia both won in the first day of netball. They play each other tomorrow morning. Swimming dominates tonight. Northern Ireland could win their first medal of these games, and Adam Peaty goes for Commonwealth gold number 5. You can hear the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games live with Natalie Sawyer and Greg Rutherford on talkSPORT from 7.
Commonwealth Games update on talkSPORT with the BYD Atto 2 DMI, the intelligent compact SUV with advanced plug-in hybrid technology.
More bangers for you on Saturday afternoon. I had it wrong, not you, don't worry. Live on talkSPORT, Transfer Insiders. I know we're predominantly a football show, but just a bit of breaking news from the world of Formula One, where Lando Norris had already taken his first Grand Prix pole of the season in Hungarian Grand Prix, qualifying today. Well, the man who was second on the grid, Lewis Hamilton, has been given a 3-place grid penalty. We'll have more from Toby Gillis coming up in a short while. But right now, and I'm going to be honest, love the show. Very excited to do it with you today, Luke.
I'm very happy to be here.
Very excited about the stories we had, etc.
Yeah.
I had no idea about this quiz. Didn't know it was coming. No idea what it's about. And so we welcome Quizmaster and associate producer Teddy Thatcher into the house. How are you, sir?
Sweet. I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, a quiz has been laid at our door, and I'm
Nothing can ruin a broadcaster's reputation like an impromptu quiz.
It's a tough quiz.
I once did the footballer game on the warm-up as a guest presenter, and one of the players that was done was a Reading legend, and I didn't get it, and I have forever felt shame.
That'll stay with you, that stuff.
It really
Listen,
has.
you said it's a tough quiz. You said it's a tough quiz. I remember doing a pub quiz once, and I asked the guy beforehand, is it a tough quiz? And he said, there's no such thing as a tough quiz. There's the questions you know and the questions you don't.
This is tough.
Simple as that.
This is just tough.
This is actually just tough.
Oh, okay, fine.
So I'll explain it to you first. So all these transfers happened on this day in previous years.
Okay.
Your first clue is going to be a song, and that will give you the nation of the player. Your second clue is going to be, I'll give you a fact about the year. And then the third clue is a player fact about the player.
And we're going against each other, are we?
You can do it together because it's tough.
Okay.
It's just us against the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me beat you.
We are still taking calls. 03717
Yeah, to help us.
You might have to use some of their text.
Yeah, actually, let's open the text. Just text us in. Teddy will never know. 03717 223344. We will be taking your calls on the Vinicius Junior possible transfer after 6. But yes, come on, Teddy, lay it on us.
So let's play the first song.
Okay, that's ABBA.
It's Swedish.
Famously Swedish.
We've got there. I'm going to guess it's Henrik Larsson.
There you go, bang.
Yeah!
Brilliant, mate.
To United?
No.
It's a Celtic.
Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic, yeah.
Just pick one.
I actually went a bit early then. I should have given you that straight away, but I got excited.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, because you need to guess what club it was to.
How long's this quiz got to last? Because Will's going to smash it in that 30 seconds.
I'm a bit worried now.
I just named the most famous Swedish player.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I did.
Okay, this might be a bit hard. Let's go for the second song.
When the moon hits your eye like
So that's Amore.
Are we going with that being
Must be Italian, yeah.
It feels more American than Italian, but
Italian.
Name an Italian player. That's all you got to do.
Andre Pirlo.
Incorrect. All right, so the year that this transfer was is the same year that Oasis famously headlined Nebworth.
Okay, so that's
95? 96.
96, I think.
96.
I think 96, yeah.
So an Italian who moved in 96.
Gianluca Vialli.
Correct.
Come on! Yes, Luke. Get in there. I like that we're not playing against each other.
No,
This
it's
is nice. Good vibes.
Really relaxed now. I've held my end up. I can relax a bit now. We've actually got one.
All right, third song, third player.
So 99 Red Balloons, German.
Yeah. Particularly being the German version of the song.
Yeah. Gave it away from
Thanks for using that version. That really bailed us out.
Yeah.
Any guesses?
Michael Ballard.
Yeah, there you go.
Incorrect.
Okay.
All right, so the fact for the year, it was the year the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film came out.
Oh, I am the resident nerd.
I'm not good at this stuff.
This clue's in for you.
Yeah, it really does feel like it. 02 maybe? Was it?
02.
2002. I am such
German
a
player in
sad
2002.
Any guesses on that?
Loser. Are they all Premier League transfers, by the way? We never really established that. It must be.
No, yeah, I think they are actually.
Oh, it was Celtic before. British, that's cool.
Yeah.
Give us the next clue.
Germany went in 02.
So, a fact about the player: this club that he joined in this year, he had 2 separate spells at. So this was the first one, and he came back.
Oh, it was the first one. I thought it was going to say the second
No,
one. I was going to go some Jurgen Klinsmann action.
2002 was a long time ago, you know.
2002, 2 stints at the club. This was the
I was only just born then, Tim.
I weren't born.
All right, shut up.
just a glint in Ben Thatcher's eye.
Yeah.
There is an option for a fourth clue.
Yeah, give us
I
it.
think we're going to need it.
He left Dortmund to go to this club.
Is it Karl-Heinz Riedle went to Liverpool?
No.
That's a good guess, wasn't
Yeah, it was. I like that. I like that.
2002, German.
Just throw
was
it
he?
to
Left
Germany.
Dortmund.
Jens Lehmann.
Correct.
Oh,
There we go.
Yeah, very good.
I nearly went Jens Lehmann before as
I
well,
did
and I
not
thought
know
it was
Jens
too
Lehmann.
early. I thought 2002.
Did a good
I thought it was
start.
more like 04
At least
or
you got
05-ish, but of course he was an invincible, wasn't he? So
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, fourth one. Let's play the song.
One more time.
Daft Punk, French.
Yeah.
Oh, you did know it was French. I thought I didn't know it was that common origin that they're French.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the most famous French musical actor of all time. I'd argue.
That's what I've said on Google. Yeah, I didn't know they're
Maybe
French.
Jean-Michel Jarre.
Serge Gainsbourg.
Serge Gainsbourg. God,
Come on.
Only on this show are you getting a Serge Gainsbourg. This and Trans-Europe Express, which, by the way,
And-
hosted by Luke Moore tomorrow.
Any guesses?
Thierry
A French player, yeah. Thierry Henry.
Incorrect.
No.
Incorrect. All right, this.
Manuel Petit.
N'Golo Kante.
No, stop guessing. Right, the year that this transfer was the year that Tiger Woods won his comeback Masters.
Oh, quite recently then.
Yeah. What year was that?
Is that pre-pandemic?
I think it was.
2018.
Like 2018? 2016?
You were close to the first time.
2019.
I'll give you the third clue and see what you say. He got injured during this World Cup.
William Saliba.
Correct.
There we go.
Nice one. That was the final one.
Well, you're smashing it.
Yeah, that was last
guys.
one. I think we won.
You did, yeah. You beat me 4-0.
There we go.
Yeah, come on, well done. I'm not sure Jens Lehmann should count.
Might have some more later, apparently. So you got that. Look forward to.
No, we've got lots of calls. We'll do those instead. 03717 22 334. Thank you, the brilliant Teddy Thatcher, joining us in studios. This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
Jurgen Klopp has today been appointed as the new national team manager. As a Liverpool fan, would you spend the money on Diamonde as a sort of up-and-coming prospect, or would you go for Barcola as the ready-made replacement for Mo Salah?
I'm not sure on Barcola. I'd probably Diamonde. I like him. But it's 110 million quid for potential. When you're paying 110 million quid for potential nowadays, I don't love that. And that's a problem. And that's where the market is, unfortunately. So it's a tough one. Liverpool have to replace Salah. They need wide players. Now they're talking about some player from Monaco. who's probably would have been 5th choice at the start of the summer. So Liverpool fans would probably spontaneously combust if that's the only signing that came in those positions. I don't think they'll get Diamande. I think that's PSG all over. So then you're going to go for Barcola now, who Arsenal want as well. Yeah. And he's a very, very good player, but he's not in the PSG side, is he? 99% of the time, so he's in and out. I don't know. I'm torn. Is there any other options? I would say to the recruitment department at Liverpool.
Jurgen Klopp, by the way, just rounding off that conversation, one of his standout quotes today.
I love that.
I'm not doing this job for you. I'm for myself. I'm doing it for you, the German fans. I mean,
no,
he knows exactly what to say.
That wasn't the quote I saw. The one I like was, if you go after my family, I'm gone. If you think I'm rubbish, tell me to my face and I'll leave immediately. I love the way he's preconditioning the media to behave themselves and bow. In other words, I'm here, I'll do it my way, and for any reason I get sniff of anything from you or the fans, I'll just walk.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend, even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. They'd been introduced not for leg protection, but instead to give batters a strategic advantage. The idea was that batters could put their leg pads in front of the wicket if they missed the ball, preventing them from being bowled out. Obviously, that all changed when the LBW rule came in, but that was the theory behind them. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Apparently, he'd broken his leg in a match against Sheffield United in 1874 and wanted to stop it from happening again. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads, sewed them into his socks and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. Ta-da! Shin pads. Like all great genius inventors, everyone took the mickey at first. To be fair, he probably looked quite stupid running around with these on. But it's thought his whole Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this protection was pretty important for footballers. Multiple studies have shown wearing shin pads clearly reduces the risk of players getting lower leg injuries. And so in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became a part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says pads must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, and players can get away with a lot. A lot of grassroots clubs are choosing to ban micro shin pads for obvious reasons though, especially after a 15-year-old player from Penistone Church broke his leg while wearing them. Still no change from IFAB though. That's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
This hour on the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with me, Will Gavin, Luke Moore from the Football Ramble alongside me. Still to come between now and 7, we're going to turn our attention to the Championship, specifically West Ham, and whether they're in line for an instant return to the Premier League. We'll talk some Tottenham as well. And as we've been inviting you to all afternoon, you can get in touch with the show. 03717 22 33 44 is the number to call. You can text 81089. You can tweet us on our various accounts as well. We'd love to hear from you, mainly about this Vinicius Junior deal, but you want to get in touch on anything? The lines are there. Give us a call. Transfer Insiders, talkSPORT. Bazza gets in touch on WhatsApp and says, Vinny's brilliant on his day. His performances and numbers are not consistent enough for somebody being loaded as a great. In the words of Adrian Durham, Vinny Jr., is he all that? And Nick, the Leeds fan, says, there's too much set-piece FC talk going on. What do you think of Leeds business? Wilson, Trafford, Mohamovic coming in. Maybe we'll talk a bit of Leeds this hour as well. 03717 223344 is the number to call. Should we go to the phones? Is that the plan?
Do it. Let's do it.
For a nod and a thumbs up from the other side. Let's go to Albert. Great name, Albert, the Arsenal fan. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, boys. Yourselves?
Good, mate.
Cannot complain. What do you make of this Vinny Jr. possible news?
There could be worse signings. We could have signed Tonali, if I'm going to be honest.
Just getting that dig in at Spurs straight away.
Absolutely. And that is the only reason I called, is because the previous Tottenham fan really wound me up. Talking, they hope we sign Vinicius so they can have the last laugh. Look, we have the last laugh every season. But talking about the big boy, I don't think Arsenal will sign him. I think this is all kind of, I wish we did, but I think it's all hype news. But we have no one that's better than him at Arsenal. So I would welcome him with open arms.
I think that's the point, right? No one better than him.
We were saying that. Listen, Albert, I don't know if you heard, but at the start of the show, we were talking about the idea that Arsenal should be strengthening from a position of strength. You look at the great Man United team that Alex Ferguson oversaw, he'd always look to add. He wasn't ever resting on his laurels. I think Arsenal have got an amazing situation where so many other teams are in flux at the moment. If you can make a real statement signing in any position that improves them, it's a massive statement, and I think it's got to be seen as that as well.
I couldn't have put that better myself. The previous texter saying FC ole or set piece ole. It's, look, if you know it's coming and there is nothing you can do about it, then you can't really be salty and cry about it, right? Champions of Europe, and we're coming again for the second term, and I cannot wait. I promise you. And I look forward to hearing Gabby on the radio because he loves Arsenal.
Sorry, who are champions of Europe, Albert? Sorry.
Well, who PSG?
Yeah, right. So Arsenal aren't champions of Europe, are they? They're champions of England.
No, I meant champions of England.
That's okay.
I wish we were champions of Europe.
Well, England is in Europe, I guess, so that's fair enough.
We were.
Yeah.
No, we're still in Europe.
Well, geographically, European. No one's towed us out into the middle of the Atlantic just yet.
But no, let's hope it happens. And if it does, I'll be a very happy Arsenal fan.
Love it, Albert. Thank you for your call. 03717 223344. Let's go to Jordan. Jordan, question marks from you about this possible signing. Jordan.
So the only question mark. Oh, can you hear me?
I was going to say, your line was terrible, but you've come back. Don't worry. Let's go.
That's all right. Is that better?
Sounding great.
Yeah, perfect. I think some of the deluded calls saying that he's not that good is ridiculous. But there's definitely question marks over his attitude, which, as an Arsenal fan, I'd be a bit concerned about. But I think Arteta's done enough over the last few years that if he thinks that he can work with him, then we've got to give him a shout. He is one of the best in the world.
I think that for me is the big key. Is Arsenal fans will bang down your door telling you what a great manager Mikel Arteta is. And listen, I think that he is in a situation where, had it been one more year without winning the Premier League, would Mikel Arteta still be there? Like, actually winning an FA Cup in his first season gave him quite a bit of leeway. I'm glad that Arsenal stuck with him. I'm glad they were patient. It's paid off now. But do you back him when given that huge personality who has had problems with managers in the past? We saw it with Xabi Alonso last season. Do you back him to be the man to get the best out of Vinny Jr.?
I think he's got rid of all the sort of bad eggs throughout Arsenal over the last few years that he didn't want to work with. So I think if he sees something in there that he fancies.
Well, we lost Jordan towards the end there, but good stuff from you, Jordan. Thank you very much for your call.
Yeah, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. Arteta's not going to do a sense check. Not going to want to get to know the player. I mean, we look at how Arteta dealt with Aubameyang, right? Mm-hmm. Aubameyang left and went to Barcelona, saying, "Oh yeah, I chose to leave because I had a problem with Arteta." I mean, Arteta just told him it wasn't right. He shouldn't be behaving the way he was behaving, and that was the end of it, right? So I think you have really got no choice as an Arsenal fan to back what Arteta's wanting to do because it's been proven to be successful, right?
And from a perspective of you're questioning the wages, you're questioning the value, you're questioning that certain players elevate above that, and you have to trust that you can essentially operate around them, that you can make it work. And will they be worth breaking your wage structure? Will they be worth signing a player who has some dressing room issues? Will your manager get there? But I do believe that Vinicius Jr. is a player that is such a statement if Arsenal do it. That is such a level above what they've already got there, and in a position where they've been desperately trying to find a left winger for like the last 4 years, and they might be able to go and get one of the top 2-3 guys in the world at the position.
Yeah, he improves them, and it's as simple as that. And he's a world-class player. There's no really debate about that, despite what some of our saltier Spurs fan callers think.
Dylan, Arsenal fan, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm not too bad. Great show as always, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. Right, so I was saying to the producer, I as much as I love Vinny as a talent, and as much as I would love him as a statement signing for the club, I just don't feel like players of his profile with, a lot of flair, a lot of speed, that kind of thing, don't really tend to come to the Premier League because it's too physical of a league. He's not going to get the space against Leeds. He's not going to get the space against Fulham. He's not going to get the space against Coventry, so on and so forth. Brilliant talent, full of, seen what he's done on the big stage at Champions League. And yes, he might be the person to take us to that promised land, but can he, as the old saying goes, can he do it on a rainy day against Stoke, as they say?
Stoke are in the Premier League, luckily, so it'll be all right. Maybe be a cup fixture, who knows?
Can he do it on a rainy day?
Who are the new Stoke? Yeah, ring in and tell us who's the new Stoke. Don't just say Coventry, that's lazy.
But honestly, you know what I mean? It's just going to be a very, very...
Yeah, listen, there'll be an adjustment period, of course. I don't think it's realistic, though, in fairness, Dylan. I don't want to be unfair to you. I do want to try and be as fair as I can. I don't think it's reasonable necessarily to automatically assume he's not going to be able to adjust to a new league. I mean, he's obviously a top-level talent. As we mentioned earlier, he came through the Brazilian domestic league as a teenager, and that's not all rainbows and unicorns, let me tell you that. So he's got a little bit of, he's definitely got a bit of steel in his locker. And listen, if you watch Spanish football, and most people do watch Champions League football as well, it's competitive, it's tough. You have to work really hard. You have to exploit space. I think the Premier League is the strongest league in world football, but I don't think it's some kind of amazing pedestal that no one other than the toughest, Roy Keane type characters can flourish in, just simply because that's not what we've seen in the past. So you're right to raise the question. I think it will be an adjustment if he were to move to the Premier League. Lots of players struggle with that adjustment for lots of different reasons. Might be personal reasons, might be family reasons, whatever. But I don't think in terms of his raw ability and his work rate and his ceiling is going to be difficult for him to play in the Premier League. I just don't see that. I think if you're Vinny Jr. with that talent and if you've got the motivation and you're looking at playing Coventry at home or Ipswich at home or with respect some other teams, you're rubbing your hands together. You can't wait to get stuck in.
I would hope so. That's my hope, because we've all seen the talent and he's seen him. We've all seen what he's capable of. I just think that there is a different. I think we underestimate the allure of playing in Spain. The weather is a factor. As we've seen in the World Cup, something as simple as the weather can really impact on how players play. I just can't visualize, Vinicius Jr. playing in November. It's raining in the middle of the week and stuff. I just can't see it. But you're right. I hope his talents come through. I hope he adjusts as quickly as I think his talents will allow him. And listen, if Arsenal can get it over the line, one hell of a signing.
Well, you know what they say. You know what they say. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, Will, doesn't it? But it hasn't rained here for about 7 weeks. So what do we know? Who knows it will ever rain again in the UK? We don't know.
Who knows?
Can you do it in a dry, arid day?
Exactly. Can you do it in the deserts of North London?
Honestly.
Interesting. Another report just coming out from the Telegraph in the last half hour or so is that Jose Mourinho would supposedly be seriously opposed to Vinicius Jr. Leaving and going to Arsenal. Now, for people who are maybe just joining the show, coming in the evening, popping their radio on, and you've missed this whole rigmarole, what's happened here? Yan Diomande is apparently on his way to Real Madrid. It looks like he's chosen Real Madrid over PSG. It looks like that's practically a done deal. We're waiting on all the nuts and bolts of it, but certainly we think that's a move that could happen within hours, if not days. Yan Diomande going in there, being the right winger, Kylian Mbappe off the left, it leaves no space for Vinicius Jr. And he has supposedly been offered to Liverpool and Arsenal as a possibility, and Arsenal are exploring the possibility of this transfer. What can't be ignored is that Jose Mourinho completely backed Gianluca Prestiani in that situation where he covered his mouth in the conversation with Vinicius Jr. and Vinicius Jr. claims he was racially abused, and eventually we got that huge ban handed down which saw Prestiani miss the World Cup. And the fact is that Jose Mourinho might be coming in and saying, I don't want Vinicius Jr. to leave, but you can't think that's not in some way a factor, that Vinicius Jr. has been so on the other side of that argument debate and seen Jose Mourinho go and back his guy, and you can't be thinking that at minimum, if he's going to stay, there's got to be some kind of talks between the two of them to clear that air.
Yeah, also as well, I mean, if you're Jose Mourinho, I mean, are you really going to want to come out and say that you're fine for one of the best players of the last however many years to leave? I mean, it's a low percentage play to do that. I mean, I don't know in detail how popular Vinny Jr. is in Madrid generally. We'd have to find out tomorrow in Trans Europe when we talk to the Spanish football expert we get on. But, you know, it's not... I mean, Mourinho is an incoming manager who hasn't managed at the level of Real Madrid for a very long time and kind of needs every help he can get at that kind of soap opera. I think it's a really low percentage play to be talking about one of their very best players and saying, oh yeah, it's fine for him to leave. In a way, I don't know what else he could say other than that, because he can get out of it any way he likes, because he can say, well, I wanted him to stay. You heard I wanted him to stay, but he wanted to leave, or his representative wanted him to leave, or whatever, and it wasn't to do with me. That's Mourinho all over. So I wouldn't read too much into that personally.
He also hasn't won a league in 11 years at this point, Mourinho. He hasn't had success in the Champions League in 10 straight seasons.
It's a testament to the unique situation that Real Madrid with Florentino Perez and how they do things that Mourinho, you know, with respect, and he has been amazing, can get anywhere near a job of that size again. It felt to me like, again, this is going to sound disrespectful, but I can't think of any other way of saying it. It was like he was circling the drain, right? People were just saying he's going to go to Portugal and that's going to be his last job or whatever. So for him to get this boost back up to Real Madrid is very surprising, but hopefully should be very entertaining for all of us football fans.
Transfer Insiders, we're with you until 7 this evening when it's Commonwealth Games action. Natalie Sawyer and Greg Rutherford taking you through the evening there. We'll get a latest update from John Cushing coming up shortly. And we'll keep taking your calls on this 03717 22 3344. Plus, what do you make of De Zerbi's cultural rebuild? Are West Ham ready to bounce back in season 1 from the Championship? All still to come on the Transfer Insiders.
I think United want to move on. He's obviously on a hefty wage. I'm amazed Saudi haven't come in. I'm amazed he hasn't gone out to Saudi.
I think he won it.
Again, Saudi pay a lot more than 300 grand a week for a player obviously who's playing for England and still in his prime. Yeah. I'm very surprised Barcelona didn't do the deal. But then again, I expected him to do well at Barcelona. Most, average wingers would do well out there, the team they have. I don't know where he goes. If you were a Spurs, would you go for him?
That's the one that keeps nagging away in the back of my mind.
We'll take him for a loan.
Yeah.
And if he plays 23 games, you know what I mean, we'll obviously pay this fee and that fee. What United are going to have to probably end up doing is recuperating as much of that fee back and all the loan fees they've had the last 2 seasons and the next 2 seasons. So I'm thinking Spurs. They've got a few more experienced Premier League players they've signed.
And De Zerbi's the type of manager that feels he can.
I'm not sure
he feels he can fix players.
I'm not sure he'd put up with.
Really?
And then you'd worry about the London life, wouldn't you? So
yes, you would.
There's all those things. Rashford is incredibly talented, and you look at him and go, what are you doing with your career? You should be dominating. You should be dominating world
Even
football.
that World Cup, he comes on, doesn't he, the first game, scores a brilliant goal against Croatia, arguably England's best performance in that second
I agree.
half. He played a part of that. Starts the next game,
sinks
the place out, and then never really gets his place back. Anthony Gordon becomes de facto left winger, not just for England, but at Barcelona as well.
And the place was there because Gordon wasn't good in game 1, and it was there to be won. And you just look at Rashford and you go, you've got all the tangibles to be world class. What is the matter with you? But again, I would say he's been on nearly £500,000.
You're listening to the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. We're with you till 7 when it's Commonwealth Games action. Then it's live boxing in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia later. Anthony Joshua taking on Christian Prenga. And then we're expecting, after Tyson Fury stopped Marius Wack in the 7th round in Thailand, a weird fight that last night. We're thinking Tyson Fury is probably going to hop over from Thailand. We're going to get some kind of face-off. It will tee off.
He said no, though, hasn't he? He said no. He said he's not going to go. He says he's going to go into his family because he hasn't seen them for 10 weeks or something. Do you believe it?
That's setting up the WWE-ness of it all.
True.
That's just teeing us up so we're not going to believe
put bums on seats, absolutely.
And don't forget, over on talkSPORT 2 tonight, it is the World Match Play Darts semi-finals. Luke Littler looks to become the first man to repeat a World Match Play Darts series Championship in back-to-back years since, I think, 2015 was the last time someone did it. He faces Dirk van Duivenbode tonight. Gerwyn Price goes against Jan van Veen. It's brilliant on the radio. Build up from 7:30pm tonight. Both semi-finals exclusive to UK Radio on talkSPORT 2 a little bit later. So a great night of sport coming ahead. We'll keep taking your calls on Vinicius Jr. 03717 22 3344. A text coming in from 537. It's Mbappe or Vinny. Both truly are elite, only when off the left cutting in, so one has to leave. Mbappe at 9 and Vinny on the left ruined Real last season and got in Bellingham's way. Is this person co-hosting Trans-Euro Express tomorrow? They're absolutely
welcome to join me.
Just
pop up.
However, he went from great Spanish football analysis to doubt Vinny will choose a tatty stadium and a club who can't win in Europe playing boring football, though.
Yeah. He's put his colours on his chest there. He's worn his heart on his sleeve and told us what he really thinks.
This is what's going to happen. Vinicius Jr. is going to tease Arsenal, try and set up a new contract, and then just end up signing with Bayern, PSG, whatever other European super team. It's got to be Arsenal. It'd be great. Great for the Premier League.
We'd love it. We'd love him to come.
Let's turn our attention to the other side of North London, though. Tottenham have been probably the biggest movers. Well, in fact, they have been the biggest movers in this transfer window from a Premier League perspective. De Zerbi had this to say before his side's pre-season friendly against Auckland FC later on. He said, it was very clear at the start of my time at Tottenham. I said, who doesn't want to stay in Tottenham? Who is not happy? Who is not proud to stay here? They have to leave. I want the players to be proud and happy to stay here, to go on the pitch at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with big motivation. Because now in football, if you also think in the World Cup, the motivation makes the difference. The motivation is to be happy to stay in one team. So look, he's throwing around the money in a big way. He's made some huge signings. This short-term managerial tenders that we've seen have been very successful. But are you buying into this De Zerbi cultural rebuild that he's selling at Tottenham?
It's a good question. I think the situation Spurs were in when De Zerbi came in was obviously so catastrophic. It was proper, scraping the ground where the barrel used to be stuff, that he was able to obviously leverage a really great deal, get a lot of command over transfers, get a big transfer budget because Spurs have got money and they're in a good position financially in terms of bringing players in. And now you have to say he's exercising that leverage now and that kind of bandwidth he's got. And we know him to be a combustible character. We know him to be a dominant character who likes to have his say in how things are done. As looking at his managerial record, it is pretty decent. You'd have to say Spurs are the biggest club he's managed, so maybe that'll sort of sate his desire for ambition and stuff as more than any other place he's been at. The players they've brought in are the players they need. They clearly had such a terrible time last season, and it's gone on for far too long. I'm excited by what they can do. He's also starting from a position where, it can't really get much worse for a club the size of Spurs. I mean, realistically, flirting with relegation as they did last season you'd have to think is as bad as it gets for Spurs. But I'm actually seeing some quite coherent work from them in the transfer window, not just in the players coming in, but the players going out as well. I think it's interesting the way if you look at the players they brought in Senesi and Van Hecker at the back. Clearly two defenders who can play forward passes, can break the lines, have great statistics around how they set up attacks and how they play from the centre-back position. Probably anticipating Christian Romero to move on, so good replacements. What's what they need. The players they brought further forward, I think, are absolutely needed. But the players they've sold, I think, are interesting because they're selling players like Will Lancashire and Luka Vuskovic for big fees with buyback clauses, matching rights, sell-on fees, all the rest of it. It's almost like they're glorified loans for big money. You take someone like Vuskovic, he's sold to Brighton for 50 million. He cost them basically nothing. They get a chance to match. If anyone else wants to buy him from Brighton, they can go in there and match it. They've got a sell-on clause. It means effectively they get a discount buying him back. For the first time in a while, I think we're probably seeing something quite coherent from Spurs this summer. They've got it done early as well. They've not been nickel and diming clubs and then not been able to replace players and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be positive. I think you've got to caveat it, though. You've got to caveat it by saying that there's not really much evidence to go on with Spurs in recent years of them getting things right, and it does take a yet another journey of trust by the Spurs fans to back them. But I think the early signs this summer have actually been fine.
We have heard a lot of other summers where Spurs fans have been...
I totally concede that, and that's why I wanted to caveat it.
And even last off-season, with Thomas Frank, who they all decided after the fact was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
But last year, there was a lot of cope around that he would be actually a good person to take it forward. back everything they've done so far, and I think you've described everything incredibly eloquently. Yes, are they paying a little bit of a tax on Matis Fernandes, Sandro Tonali, potentially, because they're a team who have finished 17th in back-to-back seasons. They are breaking their wage scale to an extent to bring these players in. Christian Romero, just as a note, we understand Inter and Barcelona both in for him, so you expect they'll be able to get a fee for him. And if they manage to keep Van der Ven and play him alongside Paul Van Hecker, obviously they play together at international level as well. I think that's an upgrade on where they would have been going into this season. I love what they've done in central field, but I still do think that if they believe, and some Spurs fans are so bought into this that they are talking about Champions League qualification. They're talking
but you've got to be as a fan. I said this earlier. You have to. You have to.
They need a centre forward. They need.
They need more players. They do need more players. Totally. But listen, Will, on the kind of Christian Romero thing, they have to move on from him.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened the last game of last season. He was the club captain, and he was basically shamed into coming back for the last day of the season because he wanted to go and watch his team in Argentina. Like, you can't have that at a top club. I've felt like Spurs comms over the last 6 months have been dreadful. So they're starting from a very low base, and I think you're right to say. Fans have had to deal with this before, the hope. On the Thomas Frank thing, Thomas Frank was the architect of his own downfall. What has to happen when you're a manager that goes from a club the size of Brentford to a club the size of Spurs is you have to adjust to them. You can't make them adjust back to you. He tried to turn Spurs into Brentford. He opened his press conference when he took the job saying, one thing's for sure, we're absolutely going to lose games. It's different when you're a Spurs manager. Everyone looks at Spurs all the time. If Spurs lose 3 or 4 games in a row, it becomes a story. It'll be a story in here. If Brentford lose 4 games in a row, not one person outside of West London notices. It's very different. So I think Frank was probably an understandable, logical appointment at the time, which turned out to be disastrous, mostly because I think of Thomas Frank. That's what I would say. I'm not trying to defend Spurs for any particular reason. I think you're right to say that they've been disastrous moreover over the last few years. But I'm just saying you've got to judge it on what you see it. And for this summer, I think it does look quite positive.
And overall, to kind of justify the negativity we get around their spending, which you do hear a lot on talkSPORT, and I completely understand Villa fans getting frustrated at the PSR they have to deal with and having to sell players despite being in the Champions League. And I totally understand the frustration from Newcastle fans. And if any fan bases, 03717 22 33 44, want to, get their frustrations out, we are here to listen to you. But I just think from Tottenham's perspective, they have earned the right to spend this money by being so disastrous, by not spending money, but
also being commercially successful as well.
Exactly, by still being commercially successful. I've just spent 160 quid or something on a Jay-Z ticket, which is an absolutely ridiculous sum of money, but it means I'm now paying, a tenth of Rodrigo Bentancourt's hourly rates in order to help them out there.
Is that an interesting discussion as well? Maybe one for another time, but very briefly, is it right, actually? I think it's worth asking the question about whether it's right that you can take non-footballing income of that extent and apply it to your bottom line. Because they seem to be able to say, this is the stadium, it's part of the footballing operation, but we're going to do loads of stuff that has nothing to do with football, and we're going to use that to shore up our commercial performance.
Money the NFL brings in.
Exactly.
All of the concerts.
Now, I'm not blaming Spurs for it. They're playing the game very, very well. Commercially, they are an absolute behemoth, and they have been for a while since that stadium was opened, and the football thing hasn't matched it, and that's been the biggest complaint, right? But I think, early in this De Zerbi, tenure, I think it's positive. Look, what happens in football a lot is that everyone's plans survive about 5 minutes with reality, okay? If they go 2-0 down early on the first game of the season, the whole thing starts to spiral, it's not going to be massively surprising, is it? Because it's Spurs. But I think you've got to take it as you find it. And I think as you find this summer, so far so good. That would be my take.
And I just, on that commercial side of things, the reason I think we should praise Spurs for it, and the reason we should get behind them is, as much as they haven't always been well run as a football club, it feels weird praising the business side of football, because that's not why we're in it for football fans. We are in it for the glory, we're in it for the joy, we're in it for those moments. But actually, Arsenal moved into a mega stadium, whatever that is now, 25 years ago, and it was sold as being, this is going to be the difference between us consistently competing in the Champions League, consistently winning Premier League titles, and it ended up being exactly the opposite, because I don't think they properly capitalised on that. The fact that Tottenham are properly capitalising on it, that they've done the deal with the NFL, that they are selling these concerts and everything, should be actually a footballing reason to celebrate. That, do you know what? They threw a huge investment into this. It could have sunk their football club if they hadn't done it correctly, as we've seen it do to other clubs. And instead it hasn't. It's been the thing that is going to end up propping them up going forward. I just think that Tottenham fans need to take a little beat and say, this isn't a one-year rebuild. We're still absolutely packed with attacking players who once or twice a season can look like world-class players, but too often are either not available or not good enough.
Yeah, so that's an issue.
And
that's an issue.
And they need to go. Maybe they need to go and sign Vinny Jr. What do you reckon? What do you reckon he'd ask for Tottenham? £700,000 a week?
Yeah. If I was to be unfair, I would say you'd have to point out to him where Tottenham was first. But I wouldn't say that because I'm not unfair. Some other more unfair broadcasters might say that. Look, on the Arsenal thing, I just want to say one thing to add to that. I think the other thing about Arsenal Stadium was it was timing, wasn't it? Because it was exactly around the time when sort of super ultra high net worth individuals and petrostates were starting to buy football clubs, and Arsenal would essentially, if you were to be kind to Arsenal, you would say they would try and do it the right way. And then the game just shifted. The whole financial game just shifted.
You can argue that.
Yeah, and that made it tough for them as well. I'm not saying they didn't make tricky decisions along the way, but that was kind of part of the story as well. I'm fascinated to see what happens with Spurs. I think the way they're doing it does at least look coherent. And I think you've got to start from a very low base and say it's been pretty incoherent for a while, but it's starting to look coherent now. You're absolutely right, though. Bang on to bring up this this issue they've got with players being injured. I mean, the availability some of their players have... They've been like, what has it been, like 10, 11 players out? It seemed like for the whole season. It's bizarre.
It's record levels.
It really
of
is.
Availability.
Yeah.
And that needs to be in some way.
It's got to be part of it. You've got to get these players on the pitch.
Great text in from Mark, Spurs fan, says, well, maybe not a great text. Regarding Newcastle and Villa fans getting grumpy about Spurs spending money, that's their own club's fault. Spurs had the foresight to build a multi-use stadium to bring in the extra revenue. There's nothing stopping their rich owners doing the same. And maybe that's the question. Maybe it's a case of you now can't be, as you say, the petrostates, the Man Cities, the Chelsea under Abramovich. That you can't do that anymore. Football doesn't allow you to do that anymore. In some ways, that's a positive. I understand the difficulties that some clubs have, but you can find ways to spend money on infrastructure to bring more money in, and that's what those clubs could potentially be doing, is what Mark, funnily enough, the Spurs fan, is saying. 03717 223344 is the number to call. Commonwealth Games coming up in half an hour. We'll take more of your calls, and we'll talk about West Ham coming up as well here on the Transfer Insiders.
Something about Tottenham now. It's a big conversation because obviously it's about trophy wins, European Cups, all of those sort of things come into it. But in the modern world, it also comes down to support base. Money is so much involved, and Spurs are a big club, full stop. Of course, we're above someone like West Ham. We have got more support.
He had you above West Ham
globally. Well, I know, but he was almost fighting with that. You could also look at a support point of view globally. We would make Chelsea look tiny. They have had more recent success. Facts, they've had more success. But we also got to think about Tottenham history. First team to do a domestic double. First team to win the European Cup. We have history that can't be ignored in the same way that like Aston Villa.
Without being pedantic, people will be shouting at the radio, European Cup, not the European Cup.
A European Cup, yes, apologies.
That's all right.
And so I think that history is important. It really, really is. And I don't want to sound like I'm banging on about the past. We know what we've been. I'm a realistic Tottenham fan. I've seen it. Arsenal are a big club. Hate saying it, they're a big club. Bigger than us. I've got to say that as well, and that's going to upset people.
Rich, you do me a favour then. You rate them 1 to 4 first.
It'll have to be Arsenal.
Okay.
Gives me the up, but there you go.
Then who?
heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua was involved in a car accident.
I was walking with giants, man, that kept me protected, kept me shielded, and I know I'm going to do what's right for them.
Serious. It is lights out! Wow! Anthony Joshua!
They told me, if you beat Prenga, we'll give you Tyson Fury. I said, please, give me that contract.
He's got destructive power, so as soon as that shot lands, it's over.
He looks in the shape of his life. He's been training at Usyk's camp.
Anthony Joshua! Lift off for AJ!
It's seen as the final hurdle before that potential showdown with Tyson Fury.
Fury is what he says he is. Maybe he should step forward and Frank should put his fighter forward instead of worrying about what I'm up to.
Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Will Gavin, Luke Moore, but tonight live boxing action from 7 o'clock on the boxing YouTube channel, and then live commentary here on talkSPORT from 10. Anthony Joshua against Christian Prenga, and it's all teeing up. Let's be honest. Joshua. Fury with the win last night in Thailand in a bizarre bout. I'm delighted to say the head of tonight's action, the great Catman, joins us right now. Adam Cattrall, live from Jeddah. How are you doing, Cat?
I'm good. I'm just doing exactly what you lads are doing, boys. I'm waiting for that big moment at the end of the tonight.
So talk about it. Talk about Tyson Fury. Is he flying in from Thailand? Are we going to see this tonight? And what does Anthony Joshua need to do to just make sure that's the focus?
Well, his job's pretty straightforward, if we're dead honest, mate. It isn't necessarily a physical job for him this evening. It's all about the mental capacity. You've just highlighted there in the build-up to this conversation that we're having right now that he's been through a bit of a traumatic time over the last 6 to 9 months. Can he come through that? And if he can come through that unscared, then obviously everything points towards this blockbuster that we've all been waiting for the best part of 10 years. It's 10 years since we started talking about the possibility of Fury and AJ coming together. Fingers crossed tonight, there are no slip-ups. It feels like it's the final hurdle because we are told that Mr. Fury will be in town for these boys to go nose to nose and give us that iconic moment. It's not necessarily the fight. It's the 1 yard line. It's the closest that we've been in that 10-year period. There's been a lot of hot air, a lot of talking during that period of time, hasn't there? But tonight it just genuinely feels like it'll be the moment that we can put a little bit of cement into those base foundings to get this fight over the line.
Adam, nice to talk to you, mate. Really interesting, this fight tonight. I mean, we know all about AJ. Everyone, he's one of the most famous men in Britain, one of the most famous boxers Britain's ever had. What about Christian Prenga, though? Because, I mean, is there anything at all there we need to be worried about? I'm looking at his record. I don't recognise any of the fighters that he's beaten, but his record is good. And more interestingly to me, he seems like a bit of a knockout machine. I mean, first round, second round, fifth round, first round. I mean, he's knocking other fighters over. Do you put any stock in that at all?
No. Luke, honestly,
fair enough.
I could put you in there tonight, pal, and you'd take him out.
For the money, I'm up for it. I'm not actually. No way. Seriously, you honestly think he's that bad?
I mean, you just pointed out his record, right? And it does look good where you've got 20 wins and 20 knockouts, right? And people will look towards that and say, listen, he's got a lot of power and he's got the knockout. Yes, he does at a certain level. Look at the level of opposition that he has been up against. It's not necessarily the best level of opposition. Anthony Joshua is absolutely a step up for him. And it's all right having all that power, can you land it? And when you're talking about a guy that is a former 2-time unified heavyweight champion, yes, he's maybe past his very best in Anthony Joshua, but it's going to be very difficult for Prenga to land that power on him tonight. And if the Anthony Joshua that we're anticipating comes out this evening, I think he could remind everybody just how good he once upon a time was.
Beautiful stuff. Catman, you are looking sensational over there. I see the great team behind you, Spencer Oliver, nodding along to all the salient points you're making. So there is live boxing from Jeddah tonight during a fight night special. Coverage starts from 7 p.m. on the talkSPORT app and via the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. And then from 10 p.m. tonight, immediately following our Commonwealth Games coverage, it's the main event. John Rawling, Paul Smith and Spencer Oliver alongside Adam Cattrall, looking beautiful in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. That's live boxing tonight from 10 on talkSPORT. Thank you, guys. Wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Excited for the fight. I'm really excited for it. I just think, clearly Joshua's a step above for Prenga, and we are looking forward to this Tyson Fury fight, even though most people's view it's come along way too late, but it will still be a domestic super fight. But I don't know how much boxing you watch, Will, but to me, I think, when's the last time saw Anthony Joshua impress in the boxing ring. I know he's had a lot of difficulty personally, to say the least, but it has been a very, very long time. Last time most people saw Joshua fight would have been almost 2 years ago, and he was absolutely dismantled. So there has to be a bit of jeopardy tonight, because it's the heavyweight boxing division, right?
And you talked about the idea that he is one of the most famous boxers in British history, one of the, best looking, best marketed, and he has had a great career. He's a multiple-time world champion, right?
Totally.
But what's the great, when you look back on his career, if he retires after Fury, what is the great Anthony Joshua performance? Klitschko?
Yeah, it would be. So just because that was such a good fight, and it was such a passing of the baton, and it felt big at the time. And looking back on it, I've actually rewatched it fairly recently. That was an amazing night. I think that would be the feather in his cap, I would say. But 2 outings against Usyk, beaten, no shame in it. Usyk's an all-timer for me. Dismantled by Daniel Dubois, not great for him. Not a great night, to say the least. And Andy Ruiz Jr. was a big, sort of check mark in his record as well, but obviously goes and avenges that, so fair enough. But yeah, it's pretty snippy.
9 years ago.
Yeah, I know, it's a long time ago. It's a long time ago.
9 years ago.
Totally.
So, look, we'd love to see him bounce back. It'll be a great moment tonight. He sent in a wonderful, if you've not seen it on talkSPORT social media, by the way, he sent in a wonderful gift to Jim White and Simon Jordan, who obviously do their brilliant work doing their boxing hour every Wednesday, and really have supported Joshua and given him some as well over the years. But they sent him a replica of the IBF title.
It's brilliant.
talkSPORT on one side with his signature on the other on the nameplates. It was beautiful.
Listen, I love AJ. I don't want to be disrespectful about him at all. I don't want to be disrespectful about any boxer, because it's the toughest game in the world. It really is. He's been a fantastic sportsman, brilliant British sportsman. He's been fantastic for the sport as well. But I'd love to see him fight Fury. Hopefully that can actually happen, because far too often in boxing you miss out on these fights that you're desperate to see, right? So even if it's late, it'll be better late than never, in my view.
Let's talk a little bit of West Ham while we've got the opportunity to. Brentford today have seen an approach for Al Haj Malik Diouf turned down by West Ham. West Ham have said they prefer not to sell. It comes off the back of the two big sales so far this summer: Matis Fernandes to Tottenham and Crescencio Somerville, who went to who confirmed his move to Al Hilal yesterday for £55 million. They've brought in 140 million. That was the figure we were told before the summer they needed to get above to kind of sign off on all the costs before going to the Championship. Not a lot of incoming so far, although I think a lot of West Ham fans will probably feel like Jared Bowen sticking around is practically a new signing for them. Delighted to say that joining us, Nicky Hawkins, host of West Ham Fan TV. Nicky, positive about West Ham summer so far?
Do you know what? I'm feeling more positive than I felt for a long time, and that's a silly thing to say when you've just been relegated from the Premier League. But I think they've done wonderful business this season. I know they haven't signed anyone, but to keep the players that we've kept and to get the money for the players that we knew were going to go anyway, I think it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I just fair enough, Nicky. It's nice to talk to you as well. I think there's a long way to go yet, though, until the window closes, though. So, I mean, it's still probably a little bit of time to be worried. Are you worried? I mean, you mentioned it there. Are you worried they've not brought anyone in, or do you think it's still a bit early?
No, I mean, we're creeping up to the season, so we'll always wanted to get signings over the door as quickly as possible. You see what's happening over at our relegation rivals, Tottenham. I mean, they got through the ball as soon as they
got one of yours, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah, for a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's you want them through the door, but we always knew that this figure needed to be hit, and the fact that they've got that out of two players, why they hold the keys now. They hold the cards. You know, they've got a couple of aces up their sleeve. They've reached that figure, so they're in no rush to sell anyone. Now, I'm not one of them people to say, oh, if we keep as many as we can, we'll go back to the Premier League, because I think a lot of the problem with the players that we had last season was bottle. So let's get a couple more out the door. I mean, I know that Brentford bid for Diouf today and they've rejected it. I would let him go. I wasn't too impressed with Diouf. So I would get as much money as we can for him and then start to rebuild again, because that's what we need, to rebuild. We don't need to be keeping everybody that we had last season. We need to start to rebuild around the players that we want to keep. And the ones that we want to keep are the ones like Mavropanos, Bowen, Souček, unfortunately, is injured. And then start to develop around them, because they can be the core.
You say unfortunately is injured. I actually sometimes think when you're relegated and that situation happens, it more likely the player sticks around. And actually, I think you cite those players. Jared Bowen obviously has been the prime example. How important is it that he did stick around? And if the squad today goes into the new season under Nuno Espirito Santo with this renewed vigour around the club off the back of Sullivan's departure and fans really feeling like this is a reset, how strongly would you back them to come straight back up?
I back them to come straight back up, but we do definitely need. I mean, it's so important that Bowen stay. I mean, he's had talisman, and I was so glad that he did. I never thought he was going to go. I'll be honest with you, I never thought he was going to go. But we do need to get signings in because it only takes 4 or 5 bad results at the start of the season, and then you're starting to sort of get an uphill battle. So I am confident that we'll go back up, but we haven't seen the Championship for a long, long time. These players, some of these players don't know what the Championship's like. So, yeah, I want a couple more really experienced players, and then I'll be more confident. But as it stands, start well, I think we're a shoo-in, to be honest.
I mean, they're massive favourites. Absolutely. I mean, they're almost, it's not quite odds on, but it's close to it. But
not always great, though.
No, it's not. And it comes at you fast, the champion. I mean, my team are in the Championship, and it's a slog sometimes. It becomes really tough. And
8 teams down to 8th in the playoffs this year, though. They're expanding.
Yeah,
that.
True. That's true.
It's widening the net of how you get up.
Something else for Pompey to ignore. Fantastic. Can't wait for that. Portsmouth have never won a playoff game in their entire history. Not a single game, by the way. But that's a diversion.
Oh, they're so nerve-wracking, mate.
I know.
Not even a semi-final.
No, not a single game. Not a single game.
I've been to the playoff finals 4 times and lost 4 times, but at least
I'm not sure what's worse. Nicky, you mentioned it a bit there. What kind of areas specifically do you think West Ham need to strengthen in to be competitive?
Centre-halves.
Yeah.
100% centre-halves. We need to replace Somerville. I would have kept Traore. I think Traore would have been fantastic in this league. I know he's still without a club, and if we can convince him to come back, I would definitely take another chance on Adama Traore if he can't find another club. We need a left winger, and we probably need another centre midfielder. We probably need a right back as well, seeing as Wan-Bissaka will probably be leaving before the end of the season. We probably could do with a left back if Diouf leaves. So the whole defence needs, replacing. But get that. I think we've got centre forwards because I think Tatty's going to stick around and I think he's going to smash the Championship. But left wing, centre midfield, and the 2 centre halves. I think we're set to go.
Well, look, your season kicks off in about 2 weeks' time against Portsmouth in the League Cup. So there you go. You can test your mettle against each other.
It won't be a test of the mettle. Don't worry about that.
Will I see you there?
I actually probably will go, yeah, so you might see me there. But it's a big stadium. It'll be a big half-empty stadium, though, won't it, Nicky?
No, absolutely not. No,
50,000 season tickets sold. I know it's
is
the
it?
EFL Cup,
50,000 for
50,000
Good on them. Good on them.
So,
Well, Portsmouth will take numbers as they always do, so it should be a good affair.
Wonderful
stuff. Sold out 9,000. Fantastic support from Pompey. I think that sold out in a day. So, yeah, good on Pompey. Good
season opener. It'd be fantastic to watch. Yeah,
it would be. It would be interesting.
It'd be really interesting to watch West Ham 4, Portsmouth 0. I can't wait for it, mate. At least I live in London, so it won't take me long to get home.
We don't count our chickens. Listen, we'll get a grasp of where we are in that game. Championship side, obviously.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah,
I think so. And I think, but you know what? I mean, I was thinking when you were just saying it there, if West Ham somehow start the season with Bowen, Traore, as you said, if he comes back, and Tati Castellanos up front, that's frightening for other Championship teams. That I was frightened to hear you say that. So I think it's
come join us in League One.
Yeah,
it's not a lot frightening there.
Yeah, so speak to you in May. Might well happen.
Nicky, wonderful stuff from you. Thank you so much, Nicky Hawkins, host of West Ham Fan TV, joining us. Burnley West Ham talkSPORT 2 exclusive first Sunday of the Championship season on the 16th of August. We are your home of the EFL on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2, the only place with commentaries on national radio. Coming up, I don't like the line you've written here. I'm not going to lie. Did football peak in 2006? It may have done for the people sat around this desk. We'll talk about that up next. You're back with the Transfer Insiders, Talk Sport. Coming up shortly, Natalie Sawyer and Greg Rutherford will be here for all of the action from the Commonwealth Games. And one of our greatest ever Olympians and four-time Olympic gold medalist, Sir Ben Ainsley, will join Katie Shanahan and Tony Cascarino on the Weekend Sports Breakfast tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. That's the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Katie Shanahan, Tony Cascarino and Sir Ben Ainsley tomorrow from 6 on Talk Sport. Do we get an update from Glasgow? Very latest with John Cushing.
Well, praying and keeping everything crossed, Will. That's what the Welsh gymnasts are now hoping for as the final rounds of the women's team competition takes place right here in the International Arena in Glasgow. Team Wales top the team table with some outstanding displays from world silver medalist Ruby Evans. She leads the floor and the all-round competition as well. England, Australia, South Africa and Canada are now starting their campaigns. Emily Roper of Wales also delivered the best vault so far, beating her sister Abby into second. Scotland's Christelle Lake should also be in the all-round final after her efforts this afternoon. It's going to be a tense evening here at the gymnastics. It could be Northern Ireland's night in the pool this evening over across the park in Toll Cross. They're looking for their first medal. Will it come in the men's 400-metre free final? Olympic champions Daniel Whiffen and Jack McMillan for Northern Ireland, or Bethany Firth in the S14 200-metre free final. She's the Paralympic champion. She goes tonight against England's Poppy Maskill. We've got Adam Peaty going for his 5th Commonwealth Games gold medal, of course, overall. And just quickly in the basketball this afternoon, we've had more 3x3 action. England have beaten Scotland in one of the only matchups between the two old enemies so far at these Commonwealth Games. The England women's team coming out 14-9 winners at the SEC Centre, and England have won 2 out of 2. The men, that is, they and the women are both in action this evening, which you'll be able to hear live on talkSPORT from 7.
Commonwealth Games update on talkSPORT with BYD. Dare to dream with BYD and the Commonwealth Games.
I'm on tonight, and my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel it's right. All the attraction, the tension. Don't you see, baby, this is perfection.
Yep, bit of Shakira. Last time I was sat in this seat, actually, I was sat next to Tony Cascarino, who revealed to me that he once stood as far away as you are from me now, alongside Shakira while doing a World Cup event, and he was there and Gerard Piqué was there and Shakira was there.
I can't give you a story like that, I'm afraid. I can't. The best I can do is I once had a vegan pizza with Jonathan Greening. Is that any good?
The reason we're playing this is 2006 was a peak moment in football for the two men sat around this desk. 20 years ago, my club Reading were embarking on their first ever Premier League campaign following recording, by the way, the still standing highest points total in Championship
How many
history.
points?
106.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ridiculous season. Luke's beloved Portsmouth, meanwhile, had pulled off the great escape the previous year. We would go on to both finish our highest ever league finishes in our respective history. We were 8th, Pompey were 9th, and you went on to win the FA Cup the following.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a shoehorn feature, if you don't mind me saying, because Portsmouth's biggest moment was undoubtedly 2008. But I get that we're both here today, so we have to kind of shoehorn it in. But look, at this point, it was incredible because, as you mentioned, Portsmouth got out of relegation somehow. I don't know how they did it. And the next season, they're actually fine. You know, the summer 20 years ago, signed some really good players, Portsmouth. I think that's the season they signed Sol Campbell. I think they signed Nico Kranjcar that season as well, that summer as well. So it was good times. Listen, don't get me wrong, it was brilliant, but it got even better in 2008 for Portsmouth fans.
Yeah, it did. Whereas for Reading fans, that was the peak. That year where we finished 8th, wonderful season, went and won at Chelsea on Boxing Day. What a day that was.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favourite footballing memories. And even losing 4-1 to Arsenal at home. But it was an unbelievable front line with Thierry Henry and Marco. Just beautiful football, wonderful to see. For me, it's a study of 20 years of what an absolute state of football ownership my club have then since been in. Sold to a Russian billionaire who stopped caring when we went out of the Premier League, then sold to Thai owners who only really cared about the land around the stadium, realised they couldn't develop it. So sold it on to Chinese owners who only really cared about the land around the stadium, realised they couldn't develop it. Plummeted down to League One, almost completely fell apart as a football club, got deducted points on 5 separate occasions for not paying people. Like, absolute shambles. The Michael Elise situation, more than any other, a prime example of how poorly run a football club could be. Chance to sign him to a longer-term contract. Didn't do it because they didn't want to pay him a reasonable wage for an 18-year-old of his quality in the Championship. had to sell him for 15 million the following season to Crystal Palace, despite the fact he was easily worth 25, if not more, and didn't have a sell-on clause. So when he ends up going to Bayern Munich, Reading didn't make a single penny.
Yeah,
clown car of a football club over the last 2 decades. But now we've got an owner who cares, and hopefully a comeback on the way.
Can I just rate? I mean, that's a terrible story, and it's well told, and I do feel for you. Can I just perhaps trumpet by saying that at some point around this point, when it started to go wrong for Portsmouth, they managed to somehow sell the club to a man that a lot of people still today don't think actually exists.
It's great.
Ali Al-Faraj, who Portsmouth fans started calling Ali Al-Mirage because no one could actually get an identified photo of him or confirm that he even existed, and he could have been a pseudonym or an alter ego for another guy who wasn't technically supposed to be buying the club. It got better for Portsmouth from 2006, and then it got a lot worse.
Let's have a couple of calls to finish off the show. We've been talking about Vinicius Junior, the possible signing for Arsenal. What a move that would be. Let's go to Ted, Rangers fan. Ted, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, thanks. I was just thinking, we're talking about Vinny Junior. Could he possibly be coming to Man City and a swap deal?
You reckon Man City, Vinny Junior, Rodri the other way? I mean, you're going to
swap deals are tough, though, aren't they? They're tough swap deals to do.
Plus 100 million.
Yeah.
100 million. Why not? We're spending other people's money on this show today, Ted. So why not just chuck it in there, mate? 100 million.
They've not even been mentioned in this conversation. Apparently offered to Arsenal and Liverpool. And from what Phil Kitchen-Leaders tells us, Arsenal are seen as the only realistic suitors for Vinicius Junior. I mean, if you're Arsenal, that means you've got them over a little bit of a barrel, right? If they sign Yan Diomande, then it's your terms to dictate.
It's a good suggestion. I kind of get the logic of it. I mean, clearly, Vinny Junior, is potentially going to leave. Rodri has said, as we've heard on this show today, that he wants to go to Real Madrid. It kind of makes sense logically. I just think that historically, I'm trying to think of really high-profile swap deals that have actually been done. It seems to me, off the top of my head, they seem to be quite difficult to pull off, don't they?
What about Morgan Rogers for Garnacho? You're not having that?
It's not really a swap deal, though, is it? It's not really a swap deal.
No, it's not. It's
not. It's like player managers, you don't get them anymore.
Lee is a Leeds fan. Lee, you're the last one on the show, so make it count, sir.
Hello, chaps. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, good. Doing well, sir.
Good stuff. Great show, as normal, chaps. I've heard a lot of back and forth, and everybody's banging on about, do we want to see Vinny in the Premier League? Is he's got a bad attitude and that? I watch football for pure entertainment. Like, I want to watch the best players playing in the Premier League week in, week out. And I feel that if we've got a high-profile player like Vinny Junior, why wouldn't we want that? I don't understand why everyone's going about this bad egg sort of stuff. Like, I want to watch football to be entertained. I want to see him scoring goals, doing skills.
Yeah, same.
Lee, I asked you to make it count, and you really did. Sensational call, exactly the right point, and that does round us off. Luke, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a real joy.
I've enjoyed it.
What a story we got to tell with Vinicius Junior. Hopefully it doesn't just peter out and it becomes a real thing, because I think it would be a joy.
You've willed it into existence, Will. That's what I think you've done. You've driven it forward in a big way. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Famously, I have such a sway over Premier League moves. Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much to Luke Moore for the last few hours. Thank you to you for listening, for calling, for getting in touch as well. Big night of live sport, though. Boxing from 10 p.m. tonight. But up next, it's the Commonwealth Games.
Chelsea can't win a league. If Arsenal don't win it, I think Chelsea, with Xabi Alonso, Chelsea need to be one of the teams dreaming. One of the teams, look, a front line of Pedro, Esteval, Palmer, Rodgers is capable of scoring enough goals to win a league. If we now bring in Lacroix, bring in John Stones, sign a new goalkeeper, all of a sudden you're looking at a team with one game to play a week. You're looking at a team that could potentially win a league title.
Mate, you're talking guff.
No, that's not. That's you're not very rational chap.
Rory, you're not winning a league.
We are unlikely to win it, but we are one of the 5 teams that can legitimately be considered capable of winning it.
No, you're not.
We are 100%.
No, you're not.
No, you're just a biased Tottenham fan.
No, you are not in the conversation to win the league.
We are.
You are. Let's get Champions League. That's your aim.
That's the primary aim, because Arsenal are going to win the league. What I'm saying is, if Arsenal don't win the league,
Right, he's got Liverpool.